battle in the serene, mysterious valley sent shockwaves throughout the entire South State. In the midst of the battlefield, Jiang Chengxuan stood tall with his Earth Immortal domain overhead, wielding his primordial power as he fought the Yin Lion Immortal to a peak, shaking the very heavens. During the fight, Jiang Chengxuan felt his strength continuously increasing. With each exchange, he learned to better harness the power of an Earth Immortal. Because of this, his heart remained calm and unruffled, in stark contrast to the increasingly desperate Yin Lion Immortal. Unbeknownst to the Yin Lion Immortal, he had been turned into a whetstone by Jiang Chengxuan, who was using him to refine his understanding of Earth Immortal combat techniques and strategies. This spoke to the terrifying nature of Jiang Chengxuan's mindset, serene on the surface, but with a raging storm of determination underneath. No matter the situation, he would never pass up an opportunity to improve himself. As the battle grew more intense, its terrifying impact spread further and further. Gradually, both combatants realized the growing problem. As they fought, Jiang Chengxuan and the Yin Lion Immortal ascended to the skies, each sensing the attention of powerful figures from various corners of the South State. Although these were merely observations for now, it was clear that their battle had already drawn the attention of the entire South State. Both of them understood that this fight needed to end quickly, lest the consequences spiral out of control. Amidst the chaotic storm of immortal power and the thunderous clashes of their Earth Immortal domains, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes gleamed like swords as he locked gazes with the Yin Lion Immortal. Both could sense the intentions brewing in the other's mind. "Young one, it seems it falls to me to end this battle swiftly," the Yin Lion Immortal coldly declared. "That aligns with my intentions," Jiang Chengxuan calmly replied, his face solemn. At that moment, the earth-shattering battle, which had shaken the entire immortal realm, swiftly approached its decisive climax. As soon as the words left their mouths, both Jiang Chengxuan and the Yin Lion Immortal wasted no time in gathering their most powerful attacks, preparing to decide the victor in this final clash. Neither could afford to let this opportunity slip away, lest someone else snatch the prize they fought so hard for. Both were utterly confident that their ultimate strike would force the other to submit. Buzz! In an instant, the Yin Lion Immortal's colossal figure unleashed a powerful wave, stirring up massive space-time ripples. The force of his Tao laws materialized, forming intricate divine symbols that imprinted themselves onto the heavens and earth. These gigantic, twisted runes, dark as ink, radiated a domineering aura, suppressing an entire world. Under the might of this divine technique, the banner in the Yin Lion Immortal's hand underwent an extraordinary transformation. Amidst the surging waves of power, countless afterimages merged with the runes, rapidly coalescing into a massive celestial array. This formation, known as the 9 Celestial Dustless Annihilation Grand Array, was an Earth Immortal level array. It enveloped the entire serene, mysterious valley, suppressing all Tao laws within its confines. One by one, the outerworld stars dimmed within the array, the sun and moon lost their light, and the aura of destruction permeated every inch of space. This array is the 9 Celestial Dustless Annihilation Grand Array, an Earth Immortal secret formation. If you know what's good for you, surrender the opportunity and I'll spare your life. The Yin Lion Immortal's voice boomed as he towered over the heavens and earth, his imposing figure reaching across the battlefield. His confidence swelled as he felt the primordial power coursing through him, convinced that he now held Jiang Chengxuan's fate in his hands. However, Jiang Chengxuan's calm and indifferent demeanor only fueled his anger and a creeping sense of unease. "A mere Earth Immortal array. I can break it with a single sword stroke," Jiang Chengxuan declared, his eyes steely, his killing intent sharp as a blade. This bold proclamation enraged the Yin Lion Immortal, his eyes blazing with fury. Never in his long years as an Earth Immortal had he encountered such brazen disrespect. His supreme technique, dismissed as something that could be shattered with one sword stroke. Foolish and arrogant, be crushed. Without further hesitation, the Yin Lion Immortal's killing intent surged. The enormous figure wielding the banner unleashed chaos, and the Tao laws of the immortal realm ran wild. The power and aura of the 9 Celestial Dustless Annihilation Grand Array surged to their zenith, engulfing the entire serene, mysterious valley, as if plunging it into another dimension. At that moment, the serene, mysterious valley seemed to vanish from the immortal realm, causing shockwaves throughout the South State. What kind of power could make an ancient battleground disappear from the immortal realm in the blink of an eye? This unbelievable event left even seasoned immortals in a state of disbelief, feeling as though the ground had dropped out from under them. How is this possible? It vanished. The serene, mysterious valley, has it been erased? Impossible, such power is too terrifying. Across the South State, countless cultivators shouted in shock, unable to accept what they were witnessing. Only a few veteran Earth immortals, recognizing the 9 celestial dustless annihilation grand array, spoke with fear and awe. It's the 9 celestial dustless annihilation grand array. Just what is the Xianxia immortal sect doing? Shock and confusion spread through every heart. Midst the storm of destruction, Xianxia remained calm and composed, his expression unwavering. Behind him, the Earth immortal domain he had cultivated radiated with brilliance, channeling primordial power along with the laws of the 5 elements, reincarnation, and life and death. He stood firm amidst the terrifying chaos, seemingly unaffected by the surrounding devastation. As the terrifying power of the Earth immortal array descended, every inch of space was annihilated. The howling winds of darkness drowned out all sounds and obscured all vision. This scene was far more terrifying than the pursuit he had faced from the Earth immortal-level insect demon in the immortal insect valley. However, Xianxia was no longer the person he had been back then. Faced with what seemed like a hopeless situation, Xianxia no longer held back. A burst of immortal light erupted from his body. Deep blue and intense red hues emerged around him, swirling with a primordial glow that seemed otherworldly. Within this ancient aura, the surrounding destruction paused momentarily, as if boiling water had suddenly been stilled, driving away everything in its path. The boundless darkness was forcibly suppressed by the sudden appearance of the dual colors, manifesting vast, ethereal clouds in the void. The power of primordial water and fire reawakened the suppressed laws within the 9 celestial dustless annihilation grand array, breaking its confinement. Seeing this, Yin Lion Immortal's eyes widened in shock, and he couldn't help but gasp inwardly. However, before he could fully comprehend the situation, he witnessed Xianxia's Earth immortal domain surging with increasing intensity, with the primordial water and fire becoming ever stronger. Incorporating traces of primordial power, Xianxia's attack brazenly tore through the entire 9 celestial dustless annihilation grand array, forcefully carving out a path of red and blue immortal light. The array's operation faltered, and the suppressive force within the void began to weaken. Hold fast! Yin Lion Immortal reacted swiftly, unleashing another surge of power to fully activate the killing potential of the grand array. In an instant, the chaotic laws of the immortal path once again bore down, devouring the primordial water and fire path bit by bit. Sword, come forth! At that critical moment, Xianxia shouted, summoning the primordial water and fire sword that had been lying dormant within his Earth immortal domain. The sword, its body as clear as crystal, radiated with a force of primordial water and fire that was 100 times more potent. The terrifying power of the primordial force, supported by Earth immortal-level power, unleashed an aura that sent chills down one's spine. Even at its peak, the 9 celestial dustless annihilation grand array could not withstand the might of the primordial water and fire. The sword's edge cleaved through the heavens. The primordial water and fire sword, containing primordial power, was already a fearsome Earth immortal treasure. Before Xianxia had broken through to the Earth immortal realm, he could still wield the sword's power to counter the suppression of Earth immortal cultivators. Now, as a full-fledged Earth immortal himself, he could fully unleash the sword's true potential. An Earth immortal treasure. Yin Lion Immortal's expression turned to one of shock as he watched Xianxia mercilessly strike with the sword. The primordial force completely ignited, enveloping the entire serene, mysterious valley. In that terrifying moment of destruction, the laws and principles of the 9 celestial dustless annihilation grand array were utterly obliterated. The primordial water and fire surged across the sky, forcefully dividing both the grand array and the serene, mysterious valley in two. It was as if a galactic river had cut through the void, slicing through the very world itself. All threats, under the power of the primordial water and fire sword, were as if they had never existed. Boom, boom, boom. First, the entire world was engulfed and dominated by the brilliance of the primordial light. Then, deafening sounds erupted from all directions. The manifestations of the 9 celestial dustless annihilation grand array shattered piece by piece, creating countless cracks. Chaotic energy surged forth, slicing even the void into deeper nothingness. As the secret realm opened, an endless wave of tribulation energy began to leak out, forcing countless cultivators to retreat in fear. However, some were not quick enough and were touched by the power of the tribulation energy, suffering horrific injuries. Behind the retreating tide of cultivators, the pitch-black tribulation energy relentlessly pursued them. Those caught in its grasp let out harrowing screams, their voices echoing through the southern river stone forest, chilling the hearts of all who heard them. Oh yeah! The terrifying sounds reverberated throughout the area, filling the atmosphere with a sense of dread and despair. Those touched by the tribulation energy found black veins crawling across their bodies like eerie, cursed totems, infused with the power of destruction at the highest level. Their immortal bodies began to corrode and disintegrate. Even some ascendant-level cultivators, when contaminated by the tribulation energy, felt their connection with the immortal domain's laws severed. They looked on in terror as tens of thousands of years of cultivation were erased in an instant. The sheer horror of it all was beyond imagination. Witnessing these scenes, Jiang Chengxuan's expression grew serious. This was his first encounter with the power of tribulation energy, and its terrifying nature left a deep impression on him. From the vast waves of tribulation energy, he could vaguely sense a force akin to primordial power, yet fundamentally different, perhaps even opposite. This led him to speculate whether the great calamities of the immortal domain originated from the very essence of the immortal domain or the universe itself. But the truth of this could only be revealed in time. As the tribulation energy receded or withdrew back into the secret realm, the entire southern river stone forest underwent a dramatic transformation. The stone forest within 1,000,000 miles of the newly emerged void gate was completely erased, vanishing from the world. Even the void itself became unstable, dark, and fragile. Jiang Chengxuan keenly sensed that the tribulation energy had severely corroded the spatial fabric, leaving it thin and brittle. This could potentially lead to large-scale collapses in the void. If the great calamity spread across the entire immortal domain, weakening the spatial fabric everywhere, the consequences would be unimaginable. It might render the immortal domain uninhabitable for any cultivator below the true immortal level. Indeed, the great calamity of heaven and earth is not just an empty threat, Jiang Chengxuan muttered to himself, realizing the true importance of the impending calamity. The sense of urgency in his heart grew even stronger. Boom! As the retreating figures of countless cultivators moved aside, the void gate finally opened fully with a thunderous roar. A pitch-black chasm stretched across the southern river stone forest, and from within surged an ancient, vast aura that rapidly expanded outward. Following this, streaks of immortal light like a meteor shower shot out from the chasm, each carrying an extraordinary aura. They're out. Finally, they've come out. Ha ha ha, I've gained immense fortunes from this journey. That fool is doomed. These were the cultivators who had ventured into the secret realm, now emerging after braving countless dangers and treasures. Reborn into the daylight, they shouted triumphantly, holding their hard-earned fortunes. This sight rekindled the spirits of those cultivators who had been disheartened by the destructive tribulation energy. Their eyes burned with envy as they watched the others emerge. Buzz, buzz, buzz. One after another, dazzling treasures shone brightly, accompanying the cultivators as they returned to the world. The nine-colored immortal light illuminated the entire sky, creating a blinding spectacle. These returning immortals held various treasures. Some carried rare materials, others wielded powerful immortal weapons, while some possessed fragments of profound laws, each item a testament to the myriad opportunities within the secret realm. Seeing this, some opportunistic cultivators who had been lying in wait immediately made their move. Without a word, they unleashed their immortal power, attacking those who had emerged with the treasures. HMPH, I've been waiting for you, hand it over. Damn it, you're courting death. In an instant, the already tumultuous southern river stone forest plunged into further chaos as new battles erupted. Numerous figures transformed into streaks of immortal light, clashing violently with their rivals or those bearing coveted treasures. The opening of the secret realm had sparked fierce combat and slaughter. In the blink of an eye, countless powerful techniques and law-based attacks erupted, shaking the heavens and the earth. Immortal treasures were brandished, and laws were unleashed, with each combatant attempting to dominate the battlefield. Enormous avatars of power loomed like mountains, treading across rivers and valleys. Every movement shook the heavens, accompanied by thunderous roars. Countless manifestations of the laws of the universe filled the void, transforming the southern river stone forest into an otherworldly landscape. The terrifying shockwaves and explosions continued to ripple outward, causing one celestial body after another to fall from the sky. These falling stars, engulfed in flames, streaked across the heavens, leaving a trail of destruction. The scene was so grand and brutal that even Jiang Chengxuan felt a twinge of unease. At this moment, hundreds of immortals were engaged in battle, with many of them being true immortals. It seems the news of the secret realm has spread throughout half of the southern continent, Jiang Chengxuan murmured, his eyes narrowing. These newly arrived individuals were likely those who had recently learned of the secret realm and, unable to enter, had decided to ambush those emerging from it. However, Jiang Chengxuan cared little for this. His only concern was the fate of his partner, Shen Ruyan. As he thought of this, Jiang Chengxuan's gaze sharpened like lightning, scanning the chaotic void with a powerful aura that intimidated the crowd, causing many to turn their heads in caution. His domineering presence was unstoppable, cutting through the chaotic battlefield as he swiftly searched for Shen Ruyan's presence. His overwhelming aura swept across thousands of miles in an instant, and he quickly located Shen Ruyan's familiar aura somewhere within the southern river stone forest. With a sigh of relief, the furrow in Jiang Chengxuan's brow finally eased, and he exhaled a breath of pent-up worry. This secret realm exploration was something Jiang Chengxuan couldn't intervene in. Although he had confidence in Shen Ruyan's abilities, it was impossible for him not to worry. Fortunately, the thorough preparations had ensured her safety. However, just as he began to relax, a sudden change in the distance caused Jiang Chengxuan's brow to furrow once again, his eyes revealing a fierce killing intent. Without hesitation, he unleashed his full power, and his immortal energy surged, pushing through the surrounding space with overwhelming force. Within a radius of hundreds of miles, everything was suppressed under his might, causing countless cultivators to tremble in fear. An earth immortal. The mere presence of this power was enough to halt all fighting, as the name associated with such a force was enough to make everyone pause, their hearts filled with trepidation as they looked towards Jiang Chengxuan's location, fearful of provoking trouble. Boom! At that moment, another force, nearly on par with an earth immortal, suddenly erupted, akin to the descent of destruction, stirring the laws of the immortal domain and causing a stir in the clouds. The battlefield seemed to freeze, and countless cultivators gasped in shock, their faces filled with disbelief. Two earth immortals. The realization that two earth immortal sovereigns were present in the area caused a surge of panic, with many abandoning their pursuits and fleeing the battlefield. However, what happened next left them even more astonished. Within the southern river stone forest, which had fallen silent due to the eruption of earth immortal power, two terrifying forces clashed in the void, colliding with a thunderous roar. Boom, boom! The collision of earth immortal level power resulted in a massive shockwave that swept across the entire battlefield of the southern river stone forest. Within the radius of 1,000 miles, every cultivator hastily activated their protective barriers, trying to shield themselves from the oncoming force. The impact sent them all flying back, once dominant figures now appearing as helpless as leaves in a storm. This was the dominance of earth immortals within the immortal domain. As the pinnacle of power, the shockwaves from their battle alone were an insurmountable obstacle for other cultivators. Amidst the chaotic scene, countless rays of immortal and treasure light scattered, and Jiang Chengxuan had already traversed the distance of thousands of miles in an instant, arriving at the location where Shen Ruyan and her group were. In his sharp gaze, another immortal figure stood, his expression grave as he stared at Jiang Chengxuan. When Jiang Chengxuan had located Shen Ruyan and her group, he had simultaneously noticed this individual, who had been attacking them. In a moment of urgency, Jiang Chengxuan had intervened without hesitation, breaking through all obstacles with a domineering stance to intercept the attack. "Who are you? Why do you obstruct me?" After their clash, both retreated several steps, and the earth immortal who had attacked Shen Ruyan's group spoke up, his eyes filled with suspicion as he questioned Jiang Chengxuan. However, Jiang Chengxuan's expression remained cold, and he replied indifferently, "These people are mine. You were a bit presumptuous." This statement made it clear to the attacker that Jiang Chengxuan was not simply meddling, but had a personal stake in the matter, which only served to intensify the conflict between them. "Dear husband." At that moment, Shen Ruyan, her face full of joy, flew over, her flowing celestial dress and sleeves billowing like mist as she gently landed beside Jiang Chengxuan. Jiang Chengxuan immediately deployed his earth immortal domain, enveloping the area around them and completing his defensive stance while making his position on the matter clear. Only then did he turn his gaze towards his beloved Shen Ruyan, her breathtakingly beautiful face softening his voice as he spoke gently. "My dear, I'm glad you're safe." The care and concern in his words filled Shen Ruyan's heart with warmth, her gaze softening like spring water as she nestled into Jiang Chengxuan's embrace. No matter what dangers and perils she had faced in the secret realm, hearing Jiang Chengxuan's words made it all worthwhile. "I've obtained the immortal tribulation lightning, my love," she said excitedly after withdrawing from his embrace. Jiang Chengxuan nodded, his eyes showing a hint of joy as well. In fact, he had already sensed the presence of the immortal tribulation lightning when he first detected Shen Ruyan's aura. The power it held was indeed formidable, carrying an inexplicable connection to primordial forces. "Respected one, we did not disappoint you." At that moment, the cultivators who had accompanied Shen Ruyan into the secret realm stepped forward, bowing respectfully to Jiang Chengxuan, their faces filled with excitement. Jiang Chengxuan glanced at them and saw their disheveled appearances. They had fought their way out of the tribulation energy, each of them bearing injuries. Their auras were weak, their immortal light dim, and some were even covered in dried blood. Furthermore, the group was missing two true immortals, one recruited for the mission and one, a long-standing elder of the Golden Illusion Immortal sect. Clearly, the dangers within the secret realm had far exceeded their expectations. However, none of them voiced any complaints. After all, the perils of the immortal path were well known, and they had entered the secret realm not for anyone else but for themselves, making it a simple matter of risk and reward. It was akin to a gamble, where they had accepted the possible outcomes. Yet Jiang Chengxuan was not entirely indifferent. With a nod, he retrieved several immortal fruits from his storage, each a life-giving treasure, and handed them to the injured cultivators. Seeing this, the wounded cultivators accepted the fruits with grateful expressions, bowing deeply to Jiang Chengxuan once again. Despite the hardships of assisting Shen Ruyan in obtaining the tribulation lightning, they had also acquired numerous treasures along the way. Coupled with Jiang Chengxuan's generous gift, they felt they had gained immense fortune, narrowly escaping death with great reward. Even the mysterious Earth Immortal who had attacked was taken aback, surprised by Jiang Chengxuan's generosity and tactics. Although Earth Immortals were extraordinarily powerful, they also required a terrifying amount of resources for their cultivation. The fact that Jiang Chengxuan could casually bestow such treasures indicated a substantial foundation. This was not an opponent to be taken lightly, and it was best to avoid unnecessary conflict. After Jiang Chengxuan and his group exchanged a few more words, the mysterious Earth Immortal finally spoke again, his tone much more composed. "There is an immortal tribulation lightning within the secret realm, and it is essential for me to break through in my path. It seems the cultivators I sent in have failed, as I can sense the tribulation lightning's aura on your group. I do not wish to provoke unnecessary conflict. I am willing to trade primordial treasures for the tribulation lightning. What say you?" After some contemplation, weighed down by Jiang Chengxuan's presence, he offered a trade instead of continuing the conflict. His proposition left everyone in the vicinity stunned, their expressions filled with surprise. The dignity of an Earth Immortal sovereign was not to be challenged, yet even after having already taken action, they were now negotiating. Something must have transpired that they could not understand. "Primordial treasures are indeed valuable, and your offer is sincere," Jiang Chengxuan said, his tone softening slightly. But before the other Earth Immortal could express his relief, Jiang Chengxuan continued, "However, the immortal tribulation lightning is an indispensable treasure for my partner's path. Therefore, I must decline your offer." His simple words left the atmosphere tense once more, the silence filled with mounting pressure. The atmosphere among the hundreds of immortal cultivators present grew increasingly tense as the two Earth Immortal sovereigns stood at a standoff. No one dared to make a move, especially as the situation became more fraught with danger. Jiang Chengxuan's refusal pushed the already charged atmosphere to its peak. After a failed negotiation, the mysterious Earth Immortal cultivator found his authority and dignity challenged by Jiang Chengxuan's rejection. His eyes, once calm, now gleamed with a cold and deadly intent, as an icy power began to surge within them. "Are you truly unwilling to compromise? I could offer you the essence of extreme ice in exchange." The Earth Immortal spoke again, his tone heavy with restrained frustration. At these words, the entire crowd of cultivators was visibly shaken, their faces filled with shock. Even Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan exchanged a look of surprise. The essence of extreme ice was a rare treasure, born from the primordial essence of the universe itself, carrying an incredibly concentrated source of power. Although it was somewhat inferior to the heavenly source spirit, it was still an extraordinarily valuable artifact, rumored to be created from countless years of cosmic energy gathered in an otherworldly meteor. Despite the stunned silence of the crowd, Jiang Chengxuan remained unfazed. After a moment, he shook his head with a light smile and replied, "It's true that this is no ordinary treasure, but my wife's path to immortality is more important." This statement left the crowd of cultivators dumbfounded, rendering them speechless. Could a partner's path really be more important than one's own? Or was Jiang Chengxuan suggesting that primordial treasures were of little value to him? If anyone else had made such a claim, they would have been ridiculed, mocked, and accused of falsehood. But Jiang Chengxuan, as an Earth immortal sovereign, commanded authority and respect that none dared to challenge. Most of the onlookers believed that Jiang Chengxuan was simply trying to raise the stakes, using his partner as an excuse to drive up the price. Even the mysterious Earth immortal cultivator seemed to think so, his expression darkening with dissatisfaction. Jiang Chengxuan's response was too unconventional, making it difficult not to suspect his sincerity. However, only Shen Ruyan knew that Jiang Chengxuan meant every word he said. Her husband was never one for grandiose words or using her as a bargaining chip. As the tension in the air grew thicker, only Shen Ruyan's eyes were filled with deep emotion. "HMPH, you're utterly shameless using such an excuse to brush me off." The mysterious Earth immortal's voice turned cold as his killing intent surged, dropping the temperature around them drastically. "In that case, allow me to test your strength." Jiang Chengxuan sighed, spreading his hands in a gesture of helplessness. "The truth is simply as I've stated, I'm not speaking in falsehoods." But the mysterious Earth immortal had no interest in listening to further explanations. His body flared with immortal light as his Earth immortal power surged, blotting out the sky and shaking the heavens. The terrifying power of his Tao laws materialized, plunging the surrounding hundreds of miles into an icy winter. The intense cold froze the bodies of countless cultivators, even their immortal energy becoming sluggish and unresponsive. "Could it be, is this the Yuanhen immortal?" Someone finally gasped, recognizing the figure before them. "Oh, you mean the one who, thousands of years ago, ascended to Earth immortal by seizing an ancient relic from several immortal sects?" "Yes, after he destroyed the Xuanyuan immortal sect, it was said he disappeared from the world, and now he's returned." The crowd buzzed with shock and disbelief as the realization spread. Hearing the murmurs, Jiang Chengxuan quickly understood the significance of his opponent. The Yuanhen immortal, once the most famous rogue cultivator in the southern state, had ascended to Earth immortal by snatching an opportunity from several major sects during the emergence of an ancient relic. His actions had shocked the entire southern state, and his strength was proven when he annihilated the Xuanyuan immortal sect, a powerful force with an Earth immortal of its own. Afterward, the Yuanhen immortal vanished without a trace, leading many to believe he had perished in that climactic battle. But now, against all expectations, he had reappeared. "Interesting," Jiang Chengxuan mused, his interest piqued. This man had once defeated another Earth immortal in a direct confrontation, making him one of the most formidable opponents Jiang Chengxuan had encountered thus far. None of his previous enemies had boasted such a fearsome track record. Boom! Before the crowd could process any further, the Yuanhen immortal's terrifying power transformed into a descending curtain of doom. The extreme cold of his Tao laws twisted the very fabric of space, coating every surface in a layer of eerie crystalline frost. As the overwhelming force of his attack descended, it whipped up a massive storm that enveloped the surrounding miles in a howling tempest. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan wasted no time. His gaze hardened as he showed no sign of hesitation. He signaled with his eyes for Shen Ruyan and the others to retreat to a safe distance. Then, from behind him, the five elements Tao, reincarnation Tao, and life and death Tao began to manifest in all their glory. As Jiang Chengxuan unleashed his power, various phenomena of creation and destruction emerged, breaking through the suppression around him and forming an isolated domain of his own. His immortal energy surged, rivaling that of the Yuanhen immortal, piercing the heavens and shaking the cosmos, causing even the raging white storm to come to a halt within the force of his power. With a deafening roar, the two Earth immortal forces clashed, plunging the world into an endless sea of radiant light. The blinding, multicolored immortal light, mixed with a sharp, icy glow, made it impossible for the surrounding cultivators to keep their eyes open. The sheer presence of Earth immortal level Tao laws filled them with a profound sense of dread, causing their very essence to tighten in fear. For everyone present, this was their first time witnessing a battle between Earth immortals. And not just any Earth immortals, but two of the most fearsome ones, both with terrifying records to their names. Under the tremors of their residual power, the South River stone forest was once again leveled, with countless stone pillars reduced to dust. The commotion from the earlier skirmishes between the other immortals now seemed utterly insignificant in comparison. HMPH. This time, the Yuanhin immortal didn't pause. After the initial probing exchange, he let out a cold snort and launched wave after wave of oppressive power toward Jiang Chengxuan. In response, Jiang Chengxuan wasted no time in summoning his 5 elements universe diagram, transforming it into the Zhengjin Void Sword, which he then swung forward with lethal precision. Thus began a relentless exchange of blows. The shattered void was filled with the constant eruption of white snow and 5-colored divine light, winding through the sky like dragons, tearing apart one stretch of the heavens after another, clashing with the force of a raging celestial river. The power of Earth immortals is such that it can stir the very laws of the immortal domain and manipulate all the spiritual energy within. With every move they made, the heavens and earth trembled, and the air was filled with the sound of endless booming. The sheer magnitude of their power distorted the entirety of the South River stone forest, forcing the remaining cultivators to flee in terror, shooting away as streaks of light, far from the battlefield where Jiang Chengxuan and the Yuanhin immortal were locked in combat. It wasn't until they had retreated thousands of miles that they dared to pause, gazing in awe at the blurry figures of the two battling Earth immortals. Their powers were beyond their comprehension, with the South River stone forest collapsing and reforming repeatedly under their clash. Back in the heart of the battle, where the celestial energy wreaked havoc, Jiang Chengxuan wielded his Zhengjin Void Sword with extraordinary agility, using his mastery of space to close the distance between him and the Yuanhin immortal, launching fierce attacks. "Arise, star-cold celestial blade," the Yuanhin immortal bellowed in response, summoning his own celestial weapon, a massive, radiant long blade shimmering with an aurora-like glow. The blade, with the appearance of a cosmic meteorite, reflected a strange, otherworldly light, and its aura of annihilation and icy cold caused the surrounding space to tremble, even dulling the sharpness of Jiang Chengxuan's sword. This celestial treasure, close to the Earth immortal level, slashed horizontally through the void, unleashing destructive force, slicing through countless spaces and carrying traces of primordial energy. The next moment, as their celestial sword and blade collided, both Jiang Chengxuan and the Yuanhin immortal erupted with even greater power. With their primordial energies reaching new heights, they simultaneously unleashed their Earth immortal domains, causing the heavens to expand with ancient, cosmic light. 2 vast, continent-like realms appeared out of thin air above the South River stone forest, their overwhelming presence dimming even the laws of the South River stone forest itself. These realms were akin to power, akin to domain, but far more terrifying. Under the influence of these Earth immortal domains, the laws of the immortal domain could be bent to the will of Jiang Chengxuan and the Yuanhin immortal, making them the absolute sovereigns of their respective worlds. However, one world cannot have 2 sovereigns. As soon as the 2 domains manifested, their massive, ancient primordial energies swept through the void, colliding with each other. Boom! The clash of these primordial forces generated the most devastating shockwave yet. Within a radius of 1,000 miles, a blinding flash of immortal light erupted, followed by an abrupt darkness that swallowed the sun and moon. The apocalyptic scene left the onlookers dumbfounded, gasping in shock and fear. By now, the disturbance had spread beyond just the South River stone forest. The entire southern state felt the tremors from this battle. The cultivators who had sensed the previous disturbance from Jiang Chengxuan's fight at the silent profound valley were now even more terrified. Was the world becoming so chaotic that battles between Earth immortals were becoming a common occurrence? Such thoughts sent chills down their spines. If Earth immortals continued to clash at this rate, there wouldn't be a need for a great tribulation. These battles alone could destroy the entire southern state. But what could they do? The might of an Earth immortal was beyond reproach, and if they decided to lay waste to the southern state, there was nothing those beneath them could do but pray. Fortunately, things hadn't reached such a dire point yet. Although battles between Earth immortals were rare, they wouldn't normally result in the destruction of the immortal domain. Back at the South River stone forest, Jiang Chengxuan found himself inwardly shocked as he battled the Yuanhen immortal. This opponent was indeed different from the Earth immortals he had previously faced, with a far greater mastery over Earth immortal power and primordial energy. During their exchanges, Jiang Chengxuan found himself slightly at a disadvantage, though his myriad of Tao laws and celestial power prevented him from being overwhelmed. With each clash, Jiang Chengxuan's terrifying combat awareness grew, allowing him to adapt and counter the Yuanhen immortal's moves. The Yuanhen immortal, who had risen from the chaos of countless battles, found this fight increasingly challenging. He quickly realized that Jiang Chengxuan was no ordinary foe. He was every bit as formidable as himself, possibly even more so. But the celestial tribulation lightning was not something the Yuanhen immortal was willing to forego. Driven by determination, his power surged as he manipulated the domain and celestial power of his Earth immortal domain, summoning the strength of distant stars to crush Jiang Chengxuan. Unyielding, Jiang Chengxuan responded in kind, manifesting his own celestial avatar, harnessing the full power of his celestial body. With a force capable of moving mountains and splitting seas, he raised his hands, pushing back the very heavens. Boom! Amidst the thunderous roars, their battle raged from the ground to the heavens, shrouded in a chaotic mist. Suddenly, an unexpected event occurred. Above the South River Stone Forest, the already sealed Void Gate was forcefully reopened by the clash between Jiang Chengxuan and the Yuanhen immortal. A pitch-black abyss split the sky, releasing a torrent of celestial tribulation chi, transforming into an eerie tidal wave that spread across the battlefield. The already fractured void, now tainted by the tribulation chi, began to collapse. Large sections of space twisted and distorted, revealing terrifying voids of nothingness. From the depths of the void, an unfamiliar aura seeped through, causing both Jiang Chengxuan and the Yuanhen immortal to freeze, their eyes narrowing in shock. Beyond the immortal domain lay the chaos of the universe, an unknown realm that no one had ventured into. In that instant, both combatants halted their attacks, instead focusing their primordial energies on sealing the void, containing the spread of the tribulation chi. Under their combined power, the void gate gradually closed, stopping the leakage of the tribulation chi and sealing the rift leading to the cosmic chaos. With the immediate danger averted, Jiang Chengxuan and the Yuanhen immortal took a moment to regain their composure, their eyes locking in mutual caution. But having already crossed swords, there was no chance of either side backing down now. As their auras intertwined, the two Earth immortals once again unleashed their power, launching themselves into a renewed and even fiercer battle. The earth-shattering battle in the South River Stone Forest distorted the very fabric of time, with the destructive storm enveloping the entire area for what seemed like an eternity. Jiang Chengxuan and Yuanhen immortal were wholly immersed in their duel, oblivious to the outside world, focusing solely on the ever-changing battlefield between them. This battle had drawn the attention of numerous cultivators, and several powerful presences had quietly arrived at the edges of the South River Stone Forest, standing in the void, watching intently. The aftermath of the clash between Jiang Chengxuan and Yuanhen immortal did not greatly affect these figures. Their immortal light remained undiminished as they effortlessly navigated through the spatial waves and chaotic Tao laws. There was no doubt that these figures were all Earth immortals. The prolonged battle between Jiang Chengxuan and Yuanhen immortal had given them ample time to reach the battlefield. However, after inquiring with the surrounding cultivators and learning the reason behind the conflict, they decided not to intervene. After all, while the celestial tribulation lightning was a rare and extraordinary object, it had little use for those who did not practice lightning-based techniques. To Earth immortals, it was less valuable than primordial treasures, making it not worth the effort to fight for. Such a powerful primordial aura, who are these two? I heard one of them is Yuanhen. I never thought he was still alive. Yuanhen? Then who could the other one be? We don't know yet. However, it seems that this person previously fought with the elders of the Yin Xuan immortal sect in the Silent Profound Valley. As they watched the intense exchanges, these Earth immortals discussed the information they had gathered. Jiang Chengxuan's recent battles had inevitably linked him to the clash in the Silent Profound Valley. Fortunately, the elders of the Yin Xuan immortal sect, Yin Ji and Yin Lion, were severely injured and, even if they learned of this battle, would not pose a threat to Jiang Chengxuan for some time. As the discussion continued, the battle between Jiang Chengxuan and Yuanhen immortal reached its peak. Yuanhen immortal, shocked by Jiang Chengxuan's rapid improvement, finally unleashed his most powerful technique. channeling all his immense immortal energy into his Earth immortal domain. His vast blue land underwent a dramatic transformation. In the midst of the snowy chaos, an aurora descended from Yuanhin Immortal's Earth immortal domain, constantly shifting in 9 different colors, exuding a chilling aura that sent shivers down the spines of all who witnessed it. This power was saturated with primordial energy, resembling a celestial abyss that slowly emerged from the Earth immortal domain and manifested in the void of the present world. Above the South River Stone Forest, a galaxy of lights shimmered, with the aurora spreading across the sky for thousands of miles. The immortal laws of the immortal domain were assimilated and frozen within this aurora, causing the once chaotic battlefield to gradually calm, as if frozen by an unseen cold, plunging everything into the dead of winter. This extreme cold originated from a force beyond the heavens, from the grand cosmic Tao itself, even surpassing the laws of the immortal domain. Witnessing this, countless cultivators were left in awe, their bodies trembling in the freezing aura. Under this power, even true immortals had no chance of resistance. The distant observers could feel their immortal bodies on the verge of shattering, accompanied by a subtle, stinging pain. Immediately, the Earth immortals observing from afar tensed up and manifested their own domains, hovering behind them, releasing primordial energy to resist the encroaching Tao laws. They couldn't help but be impressed. Yuanhin Immortal was just as formidable as he was rumored to be. As a prodigious talent who made a name for himself at a young age, they were well aware of Yuanhin Immortal's capabilities. But who could his opponent be, they wondered. Their curiosity about Jiang Chengxuan's identity only deepened. How could someone capable of matching Yuanhin Immortal in battle remain unknown? By all rights, a figure of such strength should already be famous throughout the immortal domain. They could hardly have guessed that Jiang Chengxuan had only recently ascended to Earth immortal status. While his power was extraordinary, it naturally had not yet spread across the realm. Their thoughts were soon interrupted as the battle between Jiang Chengxuan and Yuanhin Immortal suddenly escalated to its zenith. With Yuanhin Immortal unleashing his most powerful technique, Jiang Chengxuan no longer held back, revealing his own ultimate power. Once again, the familiar and reassuring power of the primordial water and fire manifested in the world. Endless waves of crimson and deep blue, emanating from Jiang Chengxuan's Earth immortal domain, spread across the South River Stone Forest like an illusory dream, sweeping through the land with astonishing speed. The power of the primordial water and fire, one force explosive and the other serene, broke through every Tao law in its path, bringing a foreign aura to the world, vast and majestic. In an instant, the deathly stillness of the land was revitalized. Even Yuanhin Immortal's most potent technique was forcibly pushed back by the primordial water and fire. Primordial water and fire sword manifest. Jiang Chengxuan's voice rang out like thunder, calm yet commanding. From within his Earth immortal domain, shrouded in a radiant glow, a sharp light shot forth, piercing through the void and landing in his grasp. The primordial water and fire sword in Jiang Chengxuan's hand shimmered with an ethereal light, its form flickering as if it were a mirage, yet it contained an awe-inspiring power that was impossible to fathom. Without hesitation, Jiang Chengxuan swung the sword, slicing through the void with a force that seemed to split the heavens and the earth. In an instant, the power of primordial water and fire surged to its peak, filling the entire universe with a hazy primordial glow that illuminated the world. The dazzling aurora from Yuanhin Immortal clashed with this primordial light, causing the South River Stone Forest to tremble violently, as if the heavens themselves were mourning. When these two forces collided, the entire South River Immortal domain fell into a deafening silence. All laws of existence were distorted. Time and space became warped and indistinguishable. Those who were watching could no longer perceive what was happening, feeling as though they were being tossed around by an unseen force, unable to discern anything in the world around them. Amid this chaos, only a few Earth Immortals who had activated their Earth Immortal domains remained unaffected. It's the power of an Earth Immortal treasure. At that moment, not only was Yuanhin Immortal shocked, but the other Earth Immortal observers also gasped in astonishment. The revelation that Jiang Chengxuan wielded an Earth Immortal treasure, a rarity that was nearly on par with primordial artifacts, stunned everyone. Such treasures were even rarer than the 5 elements immortal stones and were believed to be finite in number within the universe. In the entire Xuanming immortal domain, Earth immortal treasures had not appeared for countless millennia. Yet here, in this instant, one had emerged in Jiang Chengxuan's hands. The shock was palpable. As the cataclysmic aftershocks gradually subsided, the spectators could finally see the aftermath. The South River stone forest had been nearly obliterated. The previously self-regenerating laws of the forest had been completely suppressed by the two combatants. The once densely packed forest had been reduced to nothing, leaving behind a barren, lifeless plain. The residual power of primordial water and fire permeated every inch of space, mingling with the lingering traces of Yuanhen Immortal's northern polar divine light, giving the area a surreal, dreamlike quality. It really is him. The one who fought the Yin-Xuan Immortal sect earlier. It's definitely the same person. As the observers gazed upon the scene, several Earth Immortals couldn't help but exclaim in realization. The scene before them was eerily similar to the aftermath in the silent profound valley, with the same energies and auras present. Without a doubt, the person who had recently clashed with the Yin-Xuan Immortal sect was none other than Jiang Chengxuan. This realization led to a clearer understanding of why Yin Ji and Yin Lion had been defeated. With an Earth Immortal treasure in his possession, Jiang Chengxuan could easily dominate anyone of the same level, provided he wasn't overwhelmed by sheer numbers or significantly higher cultivation. Now, in the midst of this battle, the outcome was becoming apparent. After Jiang Chengxuan unleashed the primordial water and fire sword, Yuanhen Immortal's most powerful technique was shattered, and even his Earth Immortal domain trembled. Despite the strength of Yuanhen Immortal's northern polar divine blade, it paled in comparison to the might of a true Earth Immortal treasure. With the appearance of Jiang Chengxuan's sword, the battle's conclusion seemed inevitable. Yuanhen Immortal's eyes flashed with unwillingness as his body flickered with unstable immortal light, and his brows furrowed deeply. He no longer dared to attack, knowing that the overwhelming power of the primordial water and fire sword had even suppressed his Earth Immortal domain. Any further offensive would only expose his vulnerabilities. He realized that to continue this fight, he would have to rely solely on defense, using his Earth Immortal domain to buy time and hope for an opening. But just as the two were locked in a tense standoff, a sudden voice echoed from the distant sky. "Halt, allow me to aid you." A figure, radiating Earth Immortal energy, tore through the layers of chaos and shattered void, carrying the power of an entire azure world on his back. He descended upon the battlefield, his appearance startling everyone, including Jiang Chengxuan. This newcomer was an elderly man with a bald head, adorned with only a few wisps of white hair and deeply sunken eyes that gleamed with a vulture-like malice. His gaze was filled with intense hatred as it locked onto Yuanhen Immortal, burning with fury. The man's body was enveloped in a cold, frigid flame, his Earth Immortal energy roiling as he directed his killing intent solely at Yuanhen Immortal. This unexpected turn of events caused Jiang Chengxuan to pause in surprise. He could sense that this man was indeed an Earth Immortal, but he had no idea who he was. The aura of Xuan Yuan Immortal sect. So, some of you managed to survive after all. Yuanhen Immortal's cold voice filled in the gaps in Jiang Chengxuan's understanding. The Xuan Yuan Immortal sect. The name was familiar to Jiang Chengxuan, as it had been mentioned earlier by the onlookers as the sect Yuanhen Immortal had annihilated millennia ago. This man, then, must be one of the last survivors of that sect. It seemed fate had dealt a cruel hand, for Yuanhen Immortal, upon re-emerging into the world, had crossed paths with one of his old enemies. And now, with a blood feud to settle, the two were locked in a deadly confrontation. "Yuanhen, you beast, you slaughtered my Xuan Yuan Immortal sect." The man's voice trembled with barely contained rage. "Do you have any idea how long I've been searching for you? Today, I will use your head to honor the spirits of my fallen sect. I will carve you into pieces." As the man's venomous words spilled out, his killing intent surged like a volcanic eruption, shocking all who witnessed it. Even Jiang Chengxuan, sensing the depth of this vendetta, reined in some of his energy, keenly aware that there was more to this story than what was being revealed. And indeed, Jiang Chengxuan's instincts were correct. Faced with the Xuan Yuan Immortal sect survivor's fury, Yuanhen Immortal showed no guilt or remorse. Instead, he sneered, his eyes flashing with immense hatred of his own. "The Xuan Yuan Immortal sect deserved to die. A bunch of beasts, all of you." Yuanhen Immortal's voice thundered across the battlefield, revealing the truth behind the ancient grudge. "Years ago, your sect's internal strife and scheming drove my master out, casting him into despair. When I finally found my path to immortality, you sought to force me back into your ranks. I refused to return to your sect and you hounded me at every turn. I endured it all. But when that wretch Xianxia schemed to murder my sister, how could I not destroy you all? With Yuanhen Immortal's revelation, the long-buried truth of this ancient feud began to surface. Though known as a famous rogue cultivator throughout the Xianming immortal domain, Yuanhen Immortal did have his own immortal heritage, originating from the Xuan Yuan immortal sect, albeit not through official channels. His mentor, a venerable elder of the Xuan Yuan immortal sect, had been ousted during the sect's power struggles. Disillusioned, the elder passed his legacy to Yuanhen Immortal before passing away, leaving his disciple with both great power and a latent curse. Yuanhen Immortal's rise to fame attracted the attention of the Xuan Yuan Immortal sect, which sought to reclaim him through both coercion and persuasion. However, accustomed to the freedom of a rogue cultivator and harboring resentment towards the sect, Yuanhen Immortal decisively rejected their overtures. This rejection enraged the sect's leadership, who then ordered their disciples to hunt Yuanhen Immortal, sabotaging his cultivation at every turn. Though not yet an Earth Immortal at the time, Yuanhen Immortal endured these hardships until one of the sect's schemes accidentally claimed the life of his only sister. This tragedy drove Yuanhen Immortal to sever all ties with the Xuan Yuan Immortal sect. He then fought tooth and nail to seize the opportunity within an ancient relic site, ultimately breaking through to the Earth Immortal realm. In a blind rage, he stormed the Xuan Yuan Immortal sect and slaughtered its leadership, leaving none alive. Chapter 1308, Resolution of the Feud Part 1. Rubbish. Your master revealed the cultivation methods of my Xuan Yuan Immortal sect, which was already a grave offense. When we discovered you, instead of executing you on the spot, we graciously offered you a chance to rejoin the sect. If it weren't for your stubborn refusal, none of this would have happened. You wretched scoundrel. The Xuan Yuan Immortal sect cultivator's voice rang out, filled with fury, countering Yuanhen Immortal's accusations with a venomous retort. His words caused many onlookers to reconsider the nature of the grudge between the two, leading them to contemplate the situation with newfound complexity. Revealing a sect's cultivation methods was indeed a grave offense in the world of immortals. If such methods were not quickly retrieved, the consequences could be severe. In some cases, this could even lead to subtle changes in the cultivation method itself, as the same method could produce different outcomes depending on the individual. Such alterations could have far-reaching effects, potentially destabilizing the sect's foundation. Given this context, the Xuan Yuan Immortal sect cultivators' arguments carried some weight. However, it was also true that Yuanhen Immortal's master had been expelled from the sect due to internal strife, making it difficult to clearly determine who was right and who was wrong in this situation. I don't wish to argue further with you. If you seek vengeance for the Xuan Yuan Immortal sect, then come at me. Yuanhen Immortal's voice boomed across the battlefield, his tone filled with unyielding resolve. Despite facing the combined threat of two Earth Immortals, his expression remained calm, devoid of fear or panic. It was unclear whether his demeanor stemmed from a death wish or if he had some other plan in mind. Prepare yourself. Today, the Xuan Yuan Immortal sect will finally have its revenge. The Xuan Yuan Immortal sect cultivator shouted, his voice laced with murderous intent. The air grew thick with the anticipation of another fierce battle, one that could very well result in the fall of an Earth Immortal. The tension was palpable, with everyone holding their breath, too afraid to make a sound. Since this is a matter between you two, I'll leave it to you to resolve. I have no habit of ganging up on others. Yet just as the atmosphere reached its peak, Jiang Chengxuan's calm voice cut through the air, shocking everyone present. With the Xuan Yuan Immortal sect cultivator now involved, this was the perfect opportunity to eliminate Yuanhen Immortal. But unexpectedly, Jiang Chengxuan, who had just been locked in a fierce battle with Yuanhen Immortal, suddenly decided to withdraw. This abrupt change left everyone in stunned silence. The excuse of not wanting to gang up on someone was one that many found hard to believe. After all, those present were seasoned cultivators, well aware of the lengths one might go to in the pursuit of immortality. The notion of fairness often took a backseat in such matters, dismissed as a weakling's excuse. Fellow Taoist, surely you're not serious. The Xuan Yuan Immortal sect cultivator, who had just been brimming with righteous fury, found himself at a loss for words. His plans had hinged on Jiang Chengxuan's cooperation, believing that only by joining forces with him could they have a chance of defeating Yuanhen Immortal. Now, with his strongest ally stepping back, he felt a pang of uncertainty and confusion. Even Yuanhen Immortal was visibly taken aback. his gaze sharp as he studied Jiang Chengxuan in silence. In the midst of the tension, Jiang Chengxuan remained steadfast, repeating his earlier statement with an air of finality. I have no intention of getting involved in your feud. Settle it as you wish. At this, it became clear to everyone that Jiang Chengxuan bore no lethal intent toward Yuanhen Immortal. Indeed, in Jiang Chengxuan's mind, their conflict had merely been over a contested opportunity, not something that necessitated killing. Despite their negotiations falling through, Yuanhen Immortal's initial willingness to trade a primordial artifact for the celestial tribulation lightning had left a favorable impression on Jiang Chengxuan. The fight that ensued had been a last resort. Now, with the matter turning toward a decades-old grudge, Jiang Chengxuan had lost interest in continuing the fight. As a rogue cultivator himself, Jiang Chengxuan sympathized with Yuanhen Immortal's circumstances, feeling that Yuanhen Immortal had been pushed too far by the Xuan Yuan Immortal sect. To Jiang Chengxuan, Yuanhen Immortal's actions seemed justified, stemming from a deep love and hatred, which earned him some degree of respect. The Xuan Yuan Immortal sect cultivator's expression turned grim, realizing that Jiang Chengxuan was indeed determined to withdraw. His earlier strategy had crumbled, and it was clear that Jiang Chengxuan would no longer be aiding him in his quest for vengeance. As the atmosphere grew more tense and awkward, the Xuan Yuan Immortal sect cultivator, now with no other choice, decided to press forward. Despite the odds, he summoned all his Earth Immortal power and launched an attack on Yuanhen Immortal. Boom! This time, Jiang Chengxuan was no longer the main actor in the battle. With a flash of light, he withdrew to a safe distance, transforming into a streak of light that soared through the sky. Behind him, Yuanhen Immortal, holding his celestial blade, didn't hesitate and once again unleashed his full power, clashing head-on with the Xuan Yuan Immortal sect cultivator. The ensuing battle saw the heavens and earth tremble as the clash of celestial forces filled the air. Freezing beams of light spread from the battlefield like an invisible web, ensnaring the entire South River stone forest. Remarkably, the techniques of Yuanhen Immortal and the Xuan Yuan Immortal sect cultivator shared a striking similarity, though with subtle differences. Chapter 1309, Settling Old Scores Part 2. The battle between Yuanhen Immortal and the Xuan Yuan Immortal sect's Earth Immortal was like watching two mirror images clash. Their techniques, Earth Immortal domains, and divine abilities were so similar that it was as if the two were reflections of one another, with their attacks blending and merging in a deadly dance. Meanwhile, Jiang Chengxuan, having stepped back from the battle, quickly rejoined Shen Ruyan and the others. They surrounded him with respect, their eyes filled with admiration. Even the other cultivators, though not personally acquainted with him, made sure to offer respectful bows from a distance. Among them were Earth Immortals who, despite their own power, recognized Jiang Chengxuan's formidable strength and responded in kind. In the world of cultivation, strength commanded respect. Without a direct conflict of interest, Jiang Chengxuan was someone none of them wished to offend. Jiang Chengxuan returned their gestures with equal courtesy, signaling his intention to diffuse any lingering tensions. The atmosphere lightened, but the ferocity of the battle between Yuanhen Immortal and the Earth Immortal from Xuan Yuan Immortal sect only intensified. The two combatants fought with a ferocity that far exceeded what they had shown against Jiang Chengxuan. Their strikes were not just about outmaneuvering the other. They were driven by deep-seated hatred, with each willing to risk everything, including their own lives, to destroy the other. Despite the brief exchange with Jiang Chengxuan, Yuanhen Immortal had emerged from that fight largely unscathed. However, in this battle against his old nemesis, both combatants were already bleeding, their divine blood splattering across the frozen battlefield. The Xuan Yuan Immortal sect's Earth Immortal wielded a double-headed blade of unique design, forged from ice and capable of reflecting divine light and laws. The two Earth Immortals clashed in the shattered void, their bloodshot eyes fixed on one another, each strike accompanied by roars of fury. The sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. This was no ordinary battle. It was a death match, fought not for treasure or glory, but for the sole purpose of annihilating the other. The intensity of their killing intent permeated the battlefield, driving weaker cultivators to the brink of madness, their blood boiling with a desire to fight. Yet, the overwhelming power of the Earth Immortals kept them in check, reminding them of their own insignificance in the face of such might. The battlefield itself had transformed into an icy wasteland, with towering pillars of frost piercing the sky and snow falling like a relentless storm. Only Jiang Chengxuan, with his Earth Immortal power, could clearly perceive the fight's progression. Yuanhin Immortal, despite his wounds, held a slight advantage over his opponent, a testament to his strength. Jiang Chengxuan had noticed something troubling during their previous battle, a lingering injury hindering Yuanhin Immortal's full potential. This injury, likely sustained during the battle against the Xuan Yuan Immortal sect all those years ago, had stymied his progress for millennia. Perhaps the quest for the celestial thunder was connected to this very wound. As the brutal fight raged on, it quickly reached its climax. In a final, desperate clash, both combatants unleashed their most powerful techniques, filling the air with the overwhelming force of their origins. A strike from Yuanhin Immortal, fueled by his deeper reserves of power, finally overwhelmed his opponent. The Xuan Yuan Immortal sect's Earth Immortal, realizing defeat was imminent, activated his Earth Immortal domain to shield himself from the fatal blow and fled into the distance, ending the long-standing grudge. The spectators, awed by Yuanhin Immortal's victory, bowed in respect. The man had fought 2 Earth Immortals in succession and emerged victorious, his strength undeniable. Just as everyone was beginning to process what had happened, Jiang Chengxuan made another unexpected move. His form blurred as he approached the injured Yuanhin Immortal, his Earth Immortal domain flaring to life as he sped across the battlefield. The crowd held its breath. Could it be that Jiang Chengxuan, despite his earlier words, intended to strike down Yuanhin Immortal now that he was weakened? Was his earlier retreat merely a ploy to lull Yuanhin Immortal into a false sense of security? Even Yuanhin Immortal tensed, his eyes narrowing in suspicion. Though he did not believe Jiang Chengxuan to be a treacherous man, the stakes were too high to trust blindly. But Jiang Chengxuan merely chuckled, dispelling the tension with a wave of his hand. "I bear no ill will," he said, producing a glowing green pill from his sleeve. "This is a healing elixir. Take it and it will help mend your wounds." Yuanhin Immortal hesitated for a moment, then accepted the pill. As he ingested it, the potent life force within the elixir spread through his body, rapidly healing his injuries. "Thank you," Yuanhin Immortal said, bowing deeply. The hostility between the two vanished, replaced by a mutual understanding. Their rivalry had not been born of hatred, and the two respected one another's strength and honor. "Your power is impressive," Jiang Chengxuan said, his tone serious. "But I sense an old wound hindering your full potential. Am I correct?" Yuanhin Immortal nodded, his expression unreadable. He was not surprised by Jiang Chengxuan's perceptiveness. "I believe you sought the celestial thunder to heal this wound," Jiang Chengxuan continued, his voice steady. "I still cannot give it to you. However, I do have a way to treat your injury." Yuanhin Immortal's eyes brightened at these words, a flicker of hope crossing his face. "As a condition," Jiang Chengxuan added, his voice firm, "I ask that you join my ranks. What do you say?" Chapter 13:10. Two Immortals Join Forces, a Grand Assembly, Part 1. After a contentious meeting and a fierce battle, Jiang Chengxuan made an unexpected move. He decided to recruit Yuanhin Immortal into his ranks. His proposal sent shockwaves through the crowd. Countless cultivators from South State stood speechless, their faces frozen in disbelief. The idea that Jiang Chengxuan, after crossing swords with Yuanhin Immortal, not only harbored no ill will but actually admired and sought to recruit him, was unfathomable to many. Most cultivators, after discovering the strength of their opponent, would try to eliminate the threat, ensuring they wouldn't face future consequences. Yet Jiang Chengxuan had done the opposite, recognizing Yuanhin Immortal's talents and offering him a path of cooperation. This move, while initially startling, quickly made sense to those watching. The more they pondered Jiang Chengxuan's actions, the more brilliant it seemed. From the moment Jiang Chengxuan had entered the fray, he had demonstrated not only formidable strength but also a rare magnanimity and wisdom. His open-mindedness and calm composure distinguished him, even among the ranks of Earth Immortal-level cultivators, making him a figure of great charisma. Given the circumstances, the proposal to recruit Yuanhin Immortal didn't seem entirely outlandish. Jiang Chengxuan had clearly outmatched him in both combat and strategy, giving Yuanhin Immortal little reason to refuse. All eyes turned to Yuanhin Immortal, waiting for his response. Caught off guard by Jiang Chengxuan's offer, Yuanhin Immortal stood in silence, unable to respond immediately. His gaze locked with Jiang Chengxuan's across the void, communicating in a way that words could not. For centuries, Yuanhin Immortal had spurned offers from sects and powers, finding them beneath him, especially after the disgraceful dealings with Xuan Yuan Immortal sect. He had refused to associate with anyone after that, carving out a life as a lone wanderer. But the situation was different now. Although he had slaughtered the high-ranking members of Xuan Yuan immortal sect, he was still labeled a traitor, a pariah among the greater powers of the immortal world. His status as a rogue cultivator had barred him from joining any influential sects or groups. Yet, Jiang Chengxuan's offer was different. It wasn't tainted with manipulation or deception. And Yuanhen Immortal had to admit, Jiang Chengxuan had bested him in battle and had shown remarkable potential. After a long pause, Yuanhen Immortal finally broke the silence with a cautious question. "Can you truly heal my injuries?" Jiang Chengxuan's eyes lit up with a glimmer of satisfaction as he nodded confidently. "I happen to have another identity. I'm also an immortal alchemist with a deep understanding of healing arts." With these words, Jiang Chengxuan knew he had taken a significant step towards securing Yuanhen Immortal's allegiance. The murmurs among the surrounding cultivators confirmed their amazement. This deal could reshape the very landscape of the immortal world. The revelation that Jiang Chengxuan was not only a powerful cultivator, but also a skilled alchemist shook even the Earth immortal cultivators present. Such dual talents were incredibly rare. If Yuanhen Immortal agreed to this offer, it would be a monumental alliance, with both of their combined talents marking the potential rise of a formidable new force. "Very well," Yuanhen Immortal declared, his voice steady and resolute. "If you can truly heal my wounds, I will join your cause." The crowd stirred with anticipation. Yuanhen Immortal had long sought a cure for the injuries that had plagued him for millennia. Though the potential benefits of following Jiang Chengxuan were clear, the chance to heal his injuries was what ultimately swayed his decision. Jiang Chengxuan grinned widely, his laughter booming across the void. "Rest assured, I stand by my word. If I fail to heal your injuries, the deal is off, and you are free to leave." With these words, Jiang Chengxuan offered a guarantee, solidifying their pact. Yuanhen Immortal nodded in agreement, and in that moment a profound oath was made, sealed by the will of the Tao itself. The pact between the two immortals stunned the crowd into silence. Witnessing the recruitment of an Earth Immortal was a once-in-a-lifetime event. In the immortal realm, those who ascended to Earth Immortal status stood at the pinnacle of power, often becoming the leaders of major sects and forces. There were few, if any, instances where such individuals were recruited by others. Most Earth Immortals were nurtured by sects from a young age, with vast resources and opportunities at their disposal. Such figures, like Jiang Chengxuan and Yuanhen Immortal, who had risen from obscurity as rogue cultivators, were incredibly rare. Now, with Yuanhen Immortal agreeing to join Jiang Chengxuan's cause, an unprecedented alliance had been formed. Chapter 13:11. Two Immortals Join the Alliance, a Grand Meeting Convened, Part 2. The events at the South River Stone Forest finally came to an end. After successfully recruiting the immortal Xuan Han, Jiang Chengxuan left the area without hesitation, accompanied by Shen Ruyan, Xuan Han, and the others. With the goal of securing the celestial tribulation thunder achieved, he had no reason to remain in the southern region. Xuan Han, accustomed to a life of wandering, followed along. On their journey, Jiang Chengxuan bid farewell to the recruited true immortal cultivators, including those from the Golden Illusion Immortal sect. Notably, during this expedition, a tall female cultivator volunteered to join Jiang Chengxuan's group. This female cultivator had displayed exceptional prowess during the previous battles, with her strength nearly reaching the peak of the true immortal stage. She wielded a large battle axe and was a formidable warrior. According to Shen Ruyan, this female cultivator was instrumental in helping her secure the celestial tribulation thunder within the secret realm. Faced with the female cultivator's self-recommendation, Jiang Chengxuan did not hesitate to accept her into the team and praised her highly. He generously rewarded her with numerous treasures, including elixirs, rare materials, and magical artifacts, all of which were abundant resources he had amassed from the 10,000 Treasures Immortal Assembly and the Celestial Immortal Trade Conference. The female cultivator, deeply appreciative of Jiang Chengxuan's generosity, expressed her sincerity by swearing an oath of allegiance, indicating her determination to follow him. She recognized Jiang Chengxuan's immense potential and saw this as a significant opportunity to advance her own cultivation journey. Indeed, she was right in her judgment. Regardless of the current status of the scattered Immortal Alliance, the mere presence of Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and Xuan Han was enough to elevate it to a high-ranking force within the immortal domain. As they journeyed together, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan also took the opportunity to introduce Xuan Han and the female cultivator to the scattered Immortal Alliance, giving them a general understanding of their future affiliation. Xianxia, being a highly regarded immortal, would naturally hold a position of great respect within the alliance, similar to Jiang Chengxuan. The female cultivator, given her strength, would likely become an inner elder, a role she was more than capable of fulfilling. Both Xianxia and the female cultivator were satisfied with the scattered immortal alliance, appreciating its relatively free environment. Having lived as wanderers for so long, they would find it difficult to suddenly adapt to the strict responsibilities of managing a sect. Soon, in a certain immortal city in the southern region, Jiang Chengxuan and his companions made a brief stop before disappearing into a teleportation array. Their departure left behind a legacy of tales and upheaval that would be remembered for millennia. Some speculated that Jiang Chengxuan hailed from another immortal domain, known as the Water and Fire Immortal or the Teichu Immortal. Others believed he was the future leader of one of the top forces in the Xuanming Immortal domain. Yet, despite the numerous theories, no one could find any evidence to confirm these claims. Meanwhile, Jiang Chengxuan and his group quietly reappeared outside the scattered Immortal Alliance in the western region. "Welcome back, Elder Jiang. Welcome back, Elder Shen." As the disciples on guard duty greeted them in unison, Jiang Chengxuan nodded and led the new members into the sect. During their return, Xianxia and the female cultivator were given a tour of the sect and provided with an overview of its operations. Both were satisfied with what they saw and soon chose their respective dwellings within the sect. A few days later, Jiang Chengxuan issued a summons, calling for a meeting of all the elders of the scattered Immortal Alliance. On the appointed day, the Grand Assembly Hall was filled with elders, each adorned in distinctive robes representing the diverse nature of the alliance. They sat in the resplendent hall, awaiting Jiang Chengxuan's arrival. Given Jiang Chengxuan's status as a pillar of the alliance, his summoning of the elders signaled that something significant was about to occur. The elders speculated among themselves, with many suspecting that it was related to the new members Jiang Chengxuan had brought back. "Elders, thank you for gathering today." As they exchanged hushed conversations, Jiang Chengxuan, exuding an air of authority and strength, stepped forward with Shen Ruyan by his side and the two new faces trailing behind them. The unfamiliar figures immediately drew attention. One was a tall woman dressed in vibrant red, her presence commanding respect. The other, clad in light blue robes, emanated an indescribable aura that sent a shiver through those who met his gaze. It was clear to all present that these two were powerful cultivators. "Whatever Elder Jiang needs, we are ready to assist." "Please, Elder Jiang, tell us what you require. We are at your service." The elders, deeply respectful of Jiang Chengxuan, expressed their readiness to follow his lead, knowing full well the pivotal role he played in the alliance's strength and status. Jiang Chengxuan, understanding their loyalty, smiled and reassured them. "There's no need for such concern. This isn't anything troublesome. In fact, it's a matter of great joy." His words immediately piqued the elders' curiosity, and they eagerly awaited further explanation. "Qin Immortal, please." Jiang Chengxuan gestured to the female cultivator, who stepped forward confidently, releasing the aura of a true immortal at the peak of the midstage as she addressed the assembly. "My name is Qin, known as the Fierce Cleaver Immortal. From this day forward, I am honored to join the scattered Immortal Alliance under Elder Jiang's leadership, and I look forward to working together with all of you to achieve great things." Her declaration stunned the hall into silence, followed by gasps of surprise. "Ha ha ha, excellent. Welcome, Fierce Cleaver Immortal. I believe your addition to the scattered Immortal Alliance will bring about a new era of prosperity." Jiang Chengxuan's warm welcome broke the silence, and soon the hall was filled with applause and words of praise from the elders. "Indeed, welcome to the Alliance Immortal. Your presence here is truly a blessing for the scattered Immortal Alliance." As the enthusiastic welcome subsided, the Fierce Cleaver Immortal smiled with satisfaction and respectfully bowed to the assembly before stepping back. However, the elders knew there was still one more person to be introduced, and they awaited with bated breath. Seeing their anticipation, Jiang Chengxuan himself stepped forward to make the next introduction. "This next individual I will introduce personally. Everyone, this is Immortal Xianxia. You may also refer to him as Elder Xianxia. I'm sure you all understand what this means." The moment those words were spoken, the entire hall was struck with disbelief. The assembled immortals, even those accustomed to great power, were momentarily rendered speechless, their hearts pounding in their chests. "Elder?" The title alone carried immense weight. There was no mistaking its significance within the immortal domain. And if Jiang Chengxuan had declared it, there could be no doubt about its truth. Chapter 13:12, Shen Ruyan's Breakthrough Part 1. When all impossibilities are eliminated, the result, no matter how incredible, becomes the only answer. As the man slowly stepped forward under Jiang Chengxuan's introduction, his presence was calm, and he greeted all the elders of the scattered immortal alliance. To everyone's astonishment, his true identity was revealed to be that of an earth immortal. In an instant, the elders of the scattered immortal alliance were at a loss for how to react. In their entire lives, they had never heard of or witnessed such an event, a being of earth immortal rank joining the scattered immortal alliance. This meant that in a short period, the scattered immortal alliance had gained 2 earth immortals. Even if they were to share this news, no one would believe it. Even the elders who had witnessed this moment firsthand felt as if they were dreaming. However, as Xianxia Immortal stood before them, surveying the crowd, he slowly released the aura of his earth immortal level primordial power. At this point, no matter how skeptical anyone might have been, they could no longer deny the truth. A completely unrelated earth immortal had joined the scattered immortal alliance through Jiang Chengxuan's recruitment. The sight of Xianxia Immortal left the elders of the scattered immortal alliance speechless, with cold sweat dripping from their foreheads. Good, good, good. Welcome, immortal Xianxia, to our scattered immortal alliance. This is truly a blessing for the cultivators of the western region. At that moment, Qin Shenwu, the master of Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, was the first to react. Having seen much while following Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, he was the first to regain his composure. Rising to his feet, he laughed heartily and spoke. Hearing this, the rest of the elders quickly recovered, jumping to their feet and bowing repeatedly to Xianxia Immortal, their faces beaming with joy as they spoke. Your arrival is a great honor for the scattered immortal alliance. We are truly blessed that you have graced us with your presence. Welcome, immortal Xianxia. Your willingness to join our alliance is our greatest fortune. From now on, whatever commands you give, we will follow without question. Just by looking at you, I could tell you were extraordinary, a true dragon among immortals. You have truly broadened our horizons. Praise and admiration flowed freely from every corner of the hall. The discussion hall of the scattered immortal alliance was suddenly filled with an atmosphere of exuberance and celebration. Every elder of the alliance was overjoyed, as if they were gazing upon a great opportunity or treasure when they looked at Xianxia Immortal. The overwhelming enthusiasm left Xianxia Immortal feeling slightly uneasy. For the first time in tens of thousands of years, he received such a warm reception. Ever since he had been labeled as a traitor for killing his master, he had only been met with fear and dread, never such warmth. For a moment, his eyes flickered with an indecipherable emotion, and he felt a deep sense of reflection. After a long pause, Xianxia Immortal raised his hands, gesturing for silence before he slowly spoke. Today, at the invitation of Elder Jiang, I join the scattered immortal alliance. In the future, I hope we can cultivate the immortal path together and build an even stronger scattered immortal alliance. As his words fell, the entire hall was once again filled with excitement. The elders of the alliance clapped their hands enthusiastically, expressing their approval. After a while, Jiang Chengxuan stepped forward to conclude the momentous event. He appointed Fierce Cleaver Immortal as an inner elder and granted Xianxia Immortal a status equal to his own, a position of great authority. None of the elders had any objections, unanimously agreeing to Jiang Chengxuan's decisions. With Xianxia Immortal's addition, the strength of the scattered immortal alliance would soar, elevating it from a mid-tier force in the immortal domain to an upper echelon power. The presence of an earth immortal could shift the balance of power across the entire western region. However, Jiang Chengxuan had no intention of making this news public just yet. As the meeting concluded, he specifically instructed all the elders to keep this information strictly confidential and not to reveal it to anyone. The reason was simple. The matter he had promised Xianxia Immortal was still unresolved. Only after healing Xianxia Immortal's old wounds could the latter truly be considered part of the scattered immortal alliance. Thus, under these arrangements, Xianxia Immortal's joining caused a significant stir within the scattered immortal alliance, but remained unknown to the outside world. In the days that followed, life returned to the peaceful routine of cultivation. During this recent exploration, Shen Ruyan had gained numerous opportunities, not just the celestial tribulation thunder, but also many other cultivation resources and insights. These were enough to help her break through her current bottleneck rapidly. So after completing her tasks, Shen Ruyan temporarily bid farewell to Jiang Chengxuan and the others, retreating into seclusion. Within her cave, the spiritual gathering formation of the immortal rank roared to life. Countless ancient runes lit up, releasing a vast aura that burst forth with profound light. Within a 1,000-mile radius, an immense amount of celestial energy was drawn toward her, forming a massive vortex above her cave. This radiant celestial energy condensed into mist, enveloping the area in a dreamlike haze. In the center of the cave, Shen Ruyan sat quietly, surrounded by numerous rare celestial treasures emitting a faint glow. These materials radiated powerful Taoist auras, creating layers of mystical phenomena in the void. There were storms that covered the skies, tearing the world apart and sweeping across rivers and mountains. There were also bolts of lightning that flashed continuously, setting the land ablaze and making the entire realm seem as though it was engulfed in flames. Chapter 1313, Shen Ruyan's Breakthrough Part 2. Strange scenes of life and death in black and white continuously unfolded, depicting the birth and destruction of energy, the cycle of life and death. These phenomena corresponded to Shen Ruyan's three great Tao principles: the primordial wind Tao, the primordial thunder Tao, and the life and death Tao. After stepping into the true immortal realm, these three Tao principles had gradually perfected and integrated with the laws of the immortal domain, merging seamlessly with the realm's aura. With a deep breath, Shen Ruyan immersed herself in a state of cultivation, calming her mind and focusing on her Tao principles. She exhaled a breath of impure air, and without any hesitation, began circulating her cultivation method, frantically absorbing the gathered celestial energy, converting it into celestial power to nourish her immortal body and refine her Tao principles. Her journey into the secret realm had been immensely rewarding. With the support of her team, they had ventured into numerous perilous regions and engaged in fierce battles. In these battles, Shen Ruyan had faced various powerful opponents, continuously learning how to wield her true immortal power and Tao principles, honing her abilities to their peak. Moreover, within that secret realm, she had encountered many mysterious Tao principles left behind by countless fallen cultivators from ancient times, swept away by a past catastrophe. Shen Ruyan had collected and studied these Tao principles, each providing her with unique insights that gradually filled in her understanding of the immortal domain's laws. With these accumulations, Shen Ruyan had swiftly advanced from the early stage of the true immortal realm, nearing the threshold of the mid-stage. Boom! As Shen Ruyan immersed herself in absorption and comprehension, the barrier to the mid-stage of the true immortal realm trembled, emitting a series of invisible rumbles. At a certain moment, her aura surged to its peak, as if encountering an obstacle. Her expression focused, and with graceful jade-like hands, she formed intricate seals. Break! A soft yet commanding shout escaped her lips, sounding like the first wind and thunder in the world, mysterious and profound. As her voice fell, the three Tao principles evolving in the void burst forth with immortal light, continuously integrating the power of the immortal domain's laws, gradually opening new realms. Driven by the breakthrough in her Tao principles, the barrier to the mid-stage collapsed. An immense amount of celestial energy poured into Shen Ruyan's immortal body, causing her already peak aura to surge dramatically. Her early true immortal stage was naturally surpassed, and her newly refined and concentrated celestial power erupted from every part of her being. Even with her calm disposition, Shen Ruyan couldn't help but reveal a trace of joy. However, she quickly reined in her emotions, not allowing her power to surge uncontrollably. Instead, she continued to circulate her cultivation method, manifesting the power of her Tao principles, gradually stabilizing her new realm. This process took some time, but eventually, the phenomena born from her Tao principles stabilized, the immortal light gently shining, and her aura became serene. Only then did Shen Ruyan rise from her seated position and take stock of her surroundings. It was only then, unknowingly, that she realized how time had flown. Over 100 years had passed since she began her seclusion. While this was not a slow pace for breaking through to the mid-stage of the true immortal realm, Shen Ruyan was not entirely satisfied. Her goal for this seclusion was not just to break through to the mid-stage, but to continue advancing and challenging even higher realms. She had the foundation to do so. Quickly surveying the now depleted celestial materials around her, Shen Ruyan waved her hand, sweeping away the ashes with a gentle breeze. She didn't rush back into cultivation, but instead took some time to clean and organize her cave, ensuring it was neat and tidy before sitting down once more. Mystic Cultivation Pill. Murmuring softly, Shen Ruyan held a celestial pill in her slender hand, radiating an astonishing aura. The pill appeared like a black hole, intricately crafted, with layers of delicate nine-colored rings seemingly endless. This pill was one that Jiang Chengxuan had prepared in advance for Shen Ruyan's seclusion, and just as its name suggested, it functioned similarly to the cultivation pill that Jiang Chengxuan had once received as a system reward. It could significantly enhance the process of accumulating celestial power, increasing the speed of progressing in one's realm by several folds. Although it was a replica created by Jiang Chengxuan and not as potent as the original cultivation pill, it was more than sufficient to aid Shen Ruyan in her seclusion. After a moment of meditation, Shen Ruyan flicked her finger and unhesitatingly swallowed the mystic cultivation pill. Instantly, her celestial power surged within her body, wrapping around the pill and beginning to refine its pure energy. In an instant, an unfathomable force spread through her meridians, reaching every part of her body, even her spiritual core. Her meridians expanded slightly, and the pill's power diffused throughout her immortal body. The celestial energy she absorbed would be immediately converted into pure celestial power, automatically integrating into her being. With this assistance, Shen Ruyan's cultivation speed increased dramatically, and a sense of ease and comfort filled her heart. Delighted, she accelerated her cultivation method, focusing entirely on her practice. With the help of the mystic cultivation pill, she continuously absorbed celestial power and refined her realm. What would have been a slow, gradual process became more like a steady stream, continuously eroding the barriers. Meanwhile, as Shen Ruyan focused on her seclusion and aimed for a higher realm, others within the scattered immortal alliance were also in seclusion. Jiang Chengxuan and Xuan Han immortal. However, their seclusion was not for advancing their realms, but for healing Xuan Han immortal's ancient wounds, which had plagued him for tens of thousands of years. At that moment, in a certain cave, Jiang Chengxuan sat cross-legged across from Xuan Han immortal, with a compass floating before him, emanating a dense aura of heavenly power. This item was the divination compass, now refined into a celestial treasure by Shen Ruyan, capable of supporting heavenly divinations within the immortal domain. The two sat several feet apart, with Tao principles manifesting behind them, creating hazy visions as their auras condensed. Jiang Chengxuan pushed his hands forward, forming a mysterious seal and channeling the heavenly power into the divination compass. Under the infusion of heavenly divination power, the compass radiated immortal light, distorting the surrounding Tao principles in space. 9-colored hues spread, forming intricate totems in a mysterious manner. All of this was, of course, to heal Xuan Han immortal's old wounds. According to Jiang Chengxuan's plan, using the heavenly divination power to first uncover the cause of Xuan Han immortal's injury was the first step in the healing process. Soon, with Xuan Han immortal's cooperation, the cave began to warp under the influence of the heavenly power, transitioning into another realm. Gradually, scenes from Xuan Han immortal's battle from tens of thousands of years ago began to play in reverse, unfolding rapidly within the divination. In the vision, Xuan Han immortal appeared overwhelmingly powerful, his earth immortal power raging as he carried the weight of the earth immortal domain. His immense power moved heaven and earth as he launched a devastating assault on a mountain gate that resembled a celestial paradise. Even through the river of time, Jiang Chengxuan could feel the terrifying strength, which was even more fearsome than when they had fought earlier. It seemed that due to his old wounds, Xuan Han immortal's cultivation had not only stagnated but had even regressed over the millennia. No wonder he had reacted so strongly when Jiang Chengxuan mentioned the possibility of healing him. For a once great genius, nothing could be more torturous than being unable to progress. Chapter 13:14, The Root of the Injury Small Tribulation Elixir, Part 1. If not for the old injury sustained in that battle, with Xuan Han immortal's talent and potential, it would have been highly likely for him to have broken through to the mid-stage of Earth immortal in these tens of thousands of years. However, there are no ifs in life. Although that battle made him famous and allowed him to fulfill his revenge against the Xuanyuan immortal sect, the cost was enormous. If this old injury is not resolved, his cultivation may never advance further. Thinking of this, Jiang Chengxuan calmed his mind and continued to push the power of the heavenly tribulation divination, delving deeper into the ancient scenes. The vision shifted, focusing on Xuan Han immortal's opponent. The opponent was a cultivator clad in immortal armor, his aura equally formidable, shaking the heavens and earth. As he faced Xianxia Immortal's onslaught, his expression turned fierce. In a moment of desperation, he manifested his Earth immortal domain to its limit, unleashing a torrent of destructive primordial power. The two clashed with a tremendous force, their overwhelming celestial power causing the entire world to twist. Numerous immortal mountains, piercing the sky, were shattered by the violent energies, resulting in catastrophic explosions. It was as if a pair of invisible hands crushed the mountains, turning them into fragments and meteors in an instant. As their similar Tao principles clashed, the polar starlight spilled across the heavens, filling the scene with an unbearably dazzling immortal light. This terrifying sight even left Jiang Chengxuan somewhat astonished, prompting him to increase the output of the heavenly tribulation's power to stabilize the fluctuating divination. The next moment revealed the critical juncture of the battle's conclusion, the moment when the blow that injured Xianxia Immortal, leaving him with a wound that would trouble him for tens of thousands of years, was struck. Midst the brutal destruction, Xianxia Immortal and his opponent fought with a frenzied intensity. Both wielded their immortal treasures without retreating a single step, their eyes bloodshot as they pushed their earth immortal powers to the extreme. Their bodies were shrouded in immortal light, like a mist, while their primordial energy was extracted from their earth immortal domains at great cost. This was a battle to the death, with both prepared to stake their lives. The contest was not just of strength and skills, but also of their foundations, futures, and everything they had. Die. The moment of change occurred in the blink of an eye. As the opponent, now on the verge of defeat, let out a desperate roar, a streak of pitch-black lightning suddenly shot out from his earth immortal domain. The attack was so swift that even Xianxia Immortal couldn't react in time. The speed of this terrifying power, carrying an unmatched will and ultimate destructive intent, reached Xianxia Immortal in an instant. Its level was so high that even primordial power could barely match it, making it impossible to suppress. It was this force that, at the crucial moment, broke through all of Xianxia Immortal's defenses, striking his vital point under the cold gaze of the Xianxia Immortal sect cultivator. However, to the opponent's surprise, just as the pitch-black destructive energy tore into Xianxia Immortal's body, a burst of hazy immortal light suddenly erupted from within Xianxia Immortal, suppressing the destructive power in the nick of time. This unexpected turn of events caught the Xianxia Immortal sect cultivator off guard. Yet, Xianxia Immortal had anticipated it. Enduring the excruciating pain, he unleashed the northern polar starlight, seizing the opportunity to launch a furious assault, ultimately killing his enemy and achieving a legendary feat that would be remembered for tens of thousands of years. The danger of this battle was such that even Jiang Chengxuan couldn't help but be impressed, especially by the last two twists that even he found hard to fully grasp. Unleash. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes narrowed as he pushed the divination compass to its limit. With his immense celestial power continuously pouring in, the divination compass began to spin so fast that it distorted, causing humming and vibrations in the void. Buzz. Moments later, a strange, strained fluctuation erupted from the divination compass. Overburdened by the weight of causality, the compass suddenly retracted its immortal light and energy, snapping back into Jiang Chengxuan's hand. Seeing this, Xianxia Immortal was slightly startled, turning his gaze to Jiang Chengxuan. Throughout this divination, Xianxia Immortal had sensed an extraordinary heavenly power, revealing another aspect of Jiang Chengxuan's identity. Besides being an earth immortal and an immortal alchemist, Jiang Chengxuan was also a highly skilled diviner. This realization left Xianxia Immortal feeling a mixture of awe and disbelief, struggling to comprehend how one person could master so many profound paths to such an extent. Even his pride as a genius couldn't help but bow in respect. However, with the sudden interruption of the heavenly tribulation divination, a sense of unease crept into Xianxia Immortal's heart. After everything, he had come to believe that Jiang Chengxuan could heal his old wound, but now it seemed the first step had failed. If even someone as skilled as Jiang Chengxuan couldn't help him, how long would it take to heal this injury? Perhaps it would never happen. No worries, I have uncovered everything. Fortunately, just as Xianxia Immortal was growing increasingly anxious, Jiang Chengxuan rose from his seated position, stowing away the divination compass, and spoke calmly. Chapter 13:15. The Root of the Injury Small Tribulation Elixir, Part 2. The confident smile on Jiang Chengxuan's face gave Xianxia Immortal a sense of assurance, prompting him to nod slightly and offer a respectful bow without any doubt. The principle of trust those you use, and use those you trust, was something Xianxia Immortal understood well. Zhang Chengxuan had indeed not deceived him. By pushing both the heavenly tribulation divination and the divination compass to their limits, Zhang Chengxuan had managed to uncover everything before the divination was abruptly interrupted. The mysterious destructive force that had been nearly impossible to discern during the battle was, in fact, revealed to be a minuscule needle laced with tribulation energy, used as a weapon in the final moments of that fateful confrontation. It was an expendable immortal treasure forged from tribulation energy, the origins of which were unknown but likely obtained by a powerful figure from the Xianyuan immortal sect. This tribulation energy-infused weapon had managed to penetrate Xianxia Immortal's defenses, leaving an injury that persisted for tens of thousands of years. Even the primordial power of an Earth immortal had been unable to fully guard against it. That explains everything. After listening to Zhang Chengxuan's explanation, Xianxia Immortal finally understood the true nature of his injury. For tens of thousands of years, he had been unable to heal it, no matter what he tried, because it was not just any ordinary wound but one imbued with tribulation energy. No wonder I felt the aura of the immortal tribulation thunder could heal my injury. Xianxia Immortal now realized the reason for his instinctual pull toward the immortal tribulation thunder. It was a natural response to the tribulation energy within him, a sense that the tribulation thunder could be used to counteract his injury. Both Zhang Chengxuan and Xianxia Immortal felt as if the clouds had parted, revealing a clear path forward. The first step in treating the injury had been successful. They had traced the cause back to its source. Knowing that the injury was rooted in tribulation, energy would allow them to develop more effective strategies for its treatment. "Congratulations, I believe we'll soon find a way to heal this injury," Zhang Chengxuan said, congratulating Xianxia Immortal. Hearing this, Xianxia Immortal's face lit up with joy, and he expressed his gratitude. Zhang Chengxuan's immediate discovery of a breakthrough had greatly boosted Xianxia Immortal's confidence. With the root of the injury identified as tribulation energy, Zhang Chengxuan returned to his alchemical research, embarking on a lengthy investigation. First, he scoured the upper volumes of the immortal elixir true tome provided by his system, searching for any elixirs that could counteract tribulation energy. Next, Zhang Chengxuan sent a confidential letter to Immortal Fuguang of the Tianlong Trading Company, seeking further insight into the nature, characteristics, and origins of tribulation energy. Immortal Fuguang, being from the same Western continent and an Earth immortal himself, generously shared everything he knew about tribulation energy with Zhang Chengxuan. He even provided Zhang Chengxuan with access to the Tianlong Trading Company's vast collection of ancient records on great tribulations, amassed over countless ages. After all, when the tribulation eventually descended upon the Western continent, all its Earth immortals would need to work together to help the continent survive. A stable Western continent was beneficial for the growth of all the powers within it. Receiving these ancient texts was an unexpected boon for Zhang Chengxuan, significantly accelerating his understanding of tribulation energy and its associated rules. Time flew by as Zhang Chengxuan devised and tested one method after another to counteract the tribulation energy. During this period, he compiled a list of immortal herbs that had an inhibitory effect on tribulation energy, using his deep understanding of alchemy to refine a series of elixirs that could potentially suppress it. In his secluded chamber, Zhang Chengxuan often felt as if he had returned to his days in the Dan Alliance of the 10,000 Stars immortal domain. He spent his days and nights in the company of the Mountain Sea Furnace, endlessly researching and refining various immortal elixirs, delving deep into the principles of alchemy and honing his craft. Soon, the first elixir designed to counteract tribulation energy was successfully created. Based on an Earth immortal grade elixir from the Immortal Elixir True Tome, Zhang Chengxuan made special modifications, incorporating more ingredients specifically effective against tribulation energy. The resulting elixir had a two-toned appearance, with a clear blue upper half and a chaotic red-black lower half, representing the polar opposites within. Zhang Chengxuan named it the Small Tribulation Elixir. That day in Xianxia Immortal's chamber, Zhang Chengxuan eagerly handed the Small Tribulation Elixir to Xianxia Immortal for the first trial. Without hesitation, Xianxia Immortal swallowed the Small Tribulation Elixir and began channeling his immortal energy to refine it. Instantly, a mysterious power erupted within him. This force was subtle and almost imperceptible, like a gentle breeze, so much so that Xianxia Immortal initially could not sense its presence. However, as soon as this power reached his old wound, he felt a sudden, sharp sensation, making his heart tighten as the wound began to ache faintly. The suffocating tribulation energy started to spread from the wound, gradually eroding the surrounding area. Xianxia Immortal felt a surge of panic and was about to unleash his immortal energy to suppress the tribulation energy. But before he could act, the formless power of the small tribulation elixir activated, enveloping the tribulation energy and condensing it into a small mass. The two forces clashed like fire and water, opposing each other yet strangely not exploding. The small tribulation elixir had indeed lived up to expectations, effectively suppressing the tribulation energy. At that moment, Xianxia Immortal was first startled and then overjoyed, his expression changing rapidly. "How do you feel?" Jiang Chengxuan asked cautiously, seeing Xianxia Immortal's reaction. Even though Jiang Chengxuan had put immense effort into refining the small tribulation elixir, he had not had the opportunity to test it, so he was uncertain about its effectiveness. After all, tribulation energy was not just an ordinary Tao force or curse. It was akin to primordial power, a force born from the world's origin. Understanding it fully was beyond the limits of an earth immortal. All Jiang Chengxuan could do was rely on various ancient records and the experiences of predecessors to piece together his approach. Fortunately, the tribulation energy afflicting Xianxia Immortal did not originate from a true heavenly tribulation, but from an unknown tribulation-infused immortal treasure. Its level was a notch below that of a genuine tribulation. "Yes, it's effective," Xianxia Immortal responded excitedly to Jiang Chengxuan's inquiry. Hearing this, Jiang Chengxuan finally relaxed, his eyes shining with excitement. Regardless of the challenges, the elixir had worked, proving that his efforts had not been in vain. If there had been no change, it would have meant he had gained nothing. However, the tribulation energy was not something that could be easily eradicated. After a while, sensing the changes within his body, Xianxia Immortal's expression grew serious as he slowly said, "The elixir has an effect. It can prevent the tribulation energy from spreading, but it's not strong enough to eliminate it." At that moment, the once ferocious tribulation energy within him had indeed calmed significantly, but its quantity had not diminished. "Yes, we still need to keep working on it," Jiang Chengxuan replied, maintaining his composure. He understood that this injury, sustained over tens of thousands of years, would not be resolved overnight. "This small tribulation elixir has already alleviated my immediate crisis," Xianxia Immortal acknowledged, nodding appreciatively. With the power of the small tribulation elixir, his injury would at least not worsen. It would also allow him to gradually accumulate immortal energy during cultivation, making some progress, unlike before, when it was like trying to catch the moon in water. Chapter 13:16 Signs of the Great Tribulation Part 1. Success of the small tribulation elixir greatly boosted the confidence of both Jiang Chengxuan and Xianxia Immortal. Afterward, Jiang Chengxuan became even more dedicated to his research on tribulation energy, much like Shen Ruyan, and entered a prolonged period of secluded cultivation, continuously refining his understanding of alchemy. Only after a long time would the doors to his chamber open, as he presented Xianxia Immortal with new methods to treat his old wounds. Meanwhile, the entire loose cultivator alliance fell into a period of deep silence, continuing to develop quietly and steadily. Time passed inexorably, and although everything seemed peaceful within the alliance, the broader Zaan Ming immortal domain was rife with hidden turmoil, far from tranquil. In the northern continent of the Zaan Ming immortal domain stood the Xianxia Immortal Mountain. This place was a sacred site controlled by the Xianxia Immortal sect, a land of immense importance. For countless years, it had produced a rare type of immortal ore that helped the Xianxia Immortal sect establish a strong foothold and thrive within the Zaan Ming immortal domain. The Xianxia Immortal Mountain was considered both the Holy Land and the ancestral ground of the Xianxia Immortal sect, where the sect's main gate was established. The mountain itself gleamed with a radiant white glow, resembling a massive uncut jade standing tall between heaven and earth. The bright light of the heavens, reflected by the Xianxia Immortal Mountain, formed a misty veil of brilliance over the surrounding mountain range, creating an extraordinarily beautiful and dazzling sight. Scattered across the mountain were numerous massive gates, each leading to different mining areas protected by invisible barriers of spatial energy. These mines, numbering in the hundreds, were heavily guarded by the disciples of the Xianxia Immortal sect, and for tens of thousands of years, they had never been lost. These mines continuously provided the energy that fueled the growth of the Xianxia Immortal sect. However, within one of these mining areas, a secret and highly unusual change was quietly taking place, unnoticed by anyone. In that mine, numerous Xianxia Immortal sect disciples, dressed in their sect's robes, wielded immortal tools to extract the ore from the hard rock. The ore, growing within the cracks of the mountainside, resembled spiritual mushrooms, emitting a mysterious and colorful radiance. The disciples' tools, resembling finely crafted double-edged axes, swung rhythmically, striking the base of the mushroom-like ore and leaving delicate marks. These disciples, mostly at the mastery level or above, expertly wielded their tools, striking the ore hundreds of times in an instant, creating a symphony of crisp sounds that echoed through the expansive mining area like pearls dropping onto a jade plate. For these disciples, gathering the immortal ore was a rite of passage within the sect. Only by collecting enough of this ore could they earn the points needed to exchange for cultivation resources. Failing to complete this task for a long period could even result in expulsion from the sect. This highlighted the importance of the ore, known as Xianxia Lingjai, to the Xianxia Immortal sect. Xianxia Lingjai was renowned within the Zhan Ming Immortal domain as an excellent material for forging immortal tools. It could adapt to various Tao forces and was incredibly easy to refine, yet once shaped, it became extremely durable. Over the years, many immortals had attempted to replicate the properties of Xianxia Lingjai, but all had failed. Even Earth immortals had been unable to crack its secrets. It was suspected that Xianxia Lingjai contained some mysterious power beyond understanding, which might explain why the ore had never been exhausted, even after tens of thousands of years. However, no one had been able to uncover the truth behind the Xianxia Lingjai. "I've finally finished. I've saved up enough points to buy that immortal tool Sister Ziner likes. Haha, she'll definitely accept my proposal now." In one of the mining areas, a disciple of the Xianxia Immortal sect stowed away his tools and packed up a chest of Xianxia Lingjai, his eyes shining with excitement as he cheered. His companion, a male cultivator beside him, looked on with a mixture of helplessness and concern before trying to dissuade him. "Maojian, this is the 5th time you've bought an immortal tool for Sister Ziner. Maybe you should focus on improving your cultivation level first." The two had entered the Xianxia Immortal sect at the same time and had become friends over the years. The companion's concern was genuine, as Maojian's infatuation with Sister Ziner had become well known within the sect. Rumors even suggested that Sister Ziner already had a Tao companion, but Maojian refused to believe it, clinging to his obsession. Despite countless warnings about Sister Ziner's dubious intentions, Maojian remained stubborn. His friend's repeated advice had nearly strained their relationship to the breaking point. Now, seeing Maojian about to fall into the same trap once more, his friend felt compelled to speak up again. As expected, Maojian's expression turned sour as he furrowed his brow, irritation clear in his voice. "Ayang, stop it. You always talk about this stuff. You just don't understand what true love is. You don't know what Sister Ziner means to me. I'm leaving." With that, Maojian hoisted his chest of Xianxia Lingjai and hurried off, leaving his friend standing alone, shaking his head in frustration. Chapter 13:17, Omen of the Great Calamity, Part 2. As Mao Jian turned and walked away, he left behind a Macron Yang, who watched his friend's departing figure with a long sigh. It seemed his friend was beyond saving, and a Macron Yang, though resolute, decided not to involve himself any further. But then a sudden change occurred. Just as Mao Jian had taken only a few steps, his terrified voice rang out from a distance. Startled, a Macron Yang looked up, his eyes full of confusion. The Xianxia mine was one of the most heavily guarded areas in the Xianxia Immortal sect, where even personal disputes were forbidden. How could something strange happen here? But before he could think further, the terrifying cries grew clearer, echoing directly into his mind, filling him with dread. All around, the other cultivators in the Xianxia mine also stopped their work, the sound of mining abruptly ceasing. They looked around in alarm, trying to locate the source of the noise. One of the supervisors, Gao Si, shouted in anger, "Who dares to cause such a disturbance in the mine? Do you have a death wish?" But as soon as his voice fell, the terrifying screams suddenly stopped, as if it had all been some thoughtless joke. Yet in the sudden silence, Every disciple of the Xianxia immortal sect felt a growing unease. No, that wasn't a joke. No one would dare to do something so reckless. Then a deafening rumble erupted from the mine, shattering the eerie silence. In an instant, the white jade-like ground beneath their feet began to quake violently, rising and falling like ocean waves. Massive cracks spread across the ground like a spider web, covering the entire mine within moments. The sight was terrifying. The mine, rich in the mineral known as Xianxia Lingjai, was composed entirely of this incredibly hard material. Even with specialized immortal tools, it would take thousands of strikes to create a tiny crack. Now, these enormous fissures had appeared suddenly, shocking everyone and sending chills down their spines. What kind of force could cause such an indestructible mine to split apart so easily? "Something's wrong, evacuate immediately," someone shouted. The miners quickly reacted, their shouts echoing through the chaos as they attempted to escape. But before they could flee, a destructive force emerged from the cracks, instantly suppressing the surrounding space. The eerie sensation caused many of the Xianxia immortal sect disciples to collapse, their strength failing them as they fell clumsily to the ground. In their horrified eyes, they watched as a black mist rose from the fissures, expanding rapidly to cover half of the mine within mere breaths. Screams of terror soon followed, as one by one, the disciples were engulfed by the sinister force. Their bodies began to corrode at an alarming rate, exposing their bones in a gruesome spectacle. Even using their Taoist powers was futile. This horrifying scene caused panic among the remaining disciples, who were now overwhelmed by the fear of death. "Run, get out of here. Escape while you can." Ignoring all rules, the disciples frantically summoned their most powerful tools and techniques in a desperate attempt to escape. But the black mist was terrifyingly powerful, rendering all their efforts useless. Every immortal tool that touched the mist was instantly corroded, losing its essence and becoming worthless scrap. Even their Taoist powers were absorbed by the mist, disappearing without a trace, like stones sinking into the ocean. Faced with such a nightmare, the disciples' fear quickly turned to madness, and desperation filled their eyes. "Suppress it." Finally, one of the high-ranking officials of the Xianxia immortal sect overseeing the mine intervened. Amidst the swirling mist, he unleashed his full strength as an ascendant immortal, wielding a long blade charged with immense power and Taoist energy. With a powerful shout, he brought the blade down in a strike that shook the heavens, suppressing the chaotic space and temporarily halting the black mist's advance. The strike was formidable, freezing the chaotic currents of the void and momentarily stopping the mist's advance. But before the surviving disciples could celebrate, the massive slash suddenly dimmed. The black mist, like a tenacious parasite, emerged from the strike and quickly consumed all its power. "No," the official shouted, realizing that even the strongest among them could do nothing against this strange force. In the end, the relentless black mist engulfed the entire Xianxia mine. The once radiant landscape, resembling a celestial paradise, was reduced to a barren wasteland in an instant. The mysterious power of the Xianxia Lingjai vanished, leaving the mines desolate. In the end, not a single person from the Xianxia mine survived. Over 1,000 disciples of the Xianxia immortal sect perished, leaving no trace behind. But the most terrifying aspect was that this disaster didn't occur in just one mine. Almost every mine suffered the same fate. If one could look down from above, they would see that in just a short time, the beautiful, jade-like Xianxia immortal mountain had turned into a barren wasteland, marred by cracks and desolation. Dark fissures covered the mountain like a giant spiderweb, devouring it entirely. Endless black mist poured from the depths, reaching into the sky and covering an area of thousands of miles, making it impossible to investigate. What has happened? Is this the punishment of the heavens? No, is this the end of the Xianxia immortal sect? Within the last remnants of the sect's stronghold, the surviving high-ranking members of the Xianxia immortal sect gazed upon the sudden disaster with utter despair, their faces aging in an instant. In just the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the entire Xianxia immortal sect was nearly wiped out by this mysterious force, leaving them with no time to react. The disciples of the sect were almost entirely annihilated. The disaster had struck from the very mines that sustained the sect. A once prominent middle-tier power in the immortal domain was now on the brink of destruction in mere moments. The terror of the event was beyond comprehension. Quickly, call for aid from the immortal path. In desperation, They pinned their hopes on the larger immortal forces, praying that someone might save them. Little did they know, this disaster wasn't unique to Xianxia Immortal Mountain. Similar events were unfolding across the Xianxia Immortal Domain, as black mist swept across the land, annihilating everything in its path. Chapter 13:18. Suppressing the Calamity Chi, Inspiration for Crossing the Tribulation Part 1. This sudden catastrophe occurred across various regions of the Xianxia Immortal Domain. Whether in celestial mountains, desolate wildernesses, or immortal cities, all were subject to its devastating assault. The destructive will and power that accompanied the calamity struck with overwhelming speed, beyond any ability to react. In some places, such as the Xianxia Immortal Mountain, the earth suddenly split open, releasing a black mist that surged forth, consuming everything in its path. In other places, the calamity manifested from the void itself, as invisible black clouds loomed over entire regions, engulfing all life within moments. Under this black mist of annihilation, ordinary cultivators had no chance of resistance. Even their finest immortal treasures were easily suppressed by the mist. The very Taoist laws they relied on were like fragile wisps of silk, instantly tainted and dissolved into black particles as the mist swept over them. In the wake of the black mist's emergence, the land was littered with corpses. The cries of the dying filled the air, with even immortals unable to escape the fate that befell them. These horrific scenes created vortexes of despair throughout the Xianxia Immortal Domain, like wounds gouged into the very earth, grotesque and terrifying. From a cosmic perspective, an observer could witness dark blotches spreading across the once brilliant landscape of the Immortal Domain. These spots expanded from singular points, relentlessly encroaching in all directions, unhindered by any force. Once these black mists reached their limits, they would retreat, flowing back toward their source, in a manner both mysterious and terrifying. It was as though these mists were wounds on the domain's body, pulsating with the immortal domain's very breath, feeding off all they touched to reinforce their grip on the world. It was only days later that the various powers across the Xianxia Immortal Domain began to receive word of these calamities. A wave of shock and horror swept through the domain as the magnitude of the disaster became clear. In a single night, dozens of immortal sects were wiped out, their remains reduced to nothing. This was not just a blow to those specific sects, but a calamity for the entire domain. Immortal sects were the foundation stones of the immortal domain. Without their layered contributions, the resources of the domain could not be effectively harnessed. The development of Taoist laws and techniques would stagnate, leading to the decay of the immortal domain's very essence. A thriving multitude of laws and methods was the hallmark of a prosperous immortal domain. Now, with so many sects obliterated overnight, the domain was dealt a staggering blow. The situation was especially dire for those sects that were closely tied to the destroyed ones. For example, Xianxia Immortal Sect had extensive dealings with many other powers in the domain. With its destruction, along with the transformation of Xianxia Lingjai into worthless soil by the strange black mist, vast quantities of resources were lost. Many sects found themselves suddenly unable to pay their disciples, leading to chaos. Worse still, some cultivators who were relying on these transactions for their very survival, or who had accumulated resources for a long time with plans to exchange them for immortal treasures, saw their hopes dashed by this calamity. Their paths to immortality were severely disrupted, driving many to the brink of despair. Is the centennial great calamity truly about to descend? Amid this turmoil, only the leaders and ancestors of the more prominent powers understood the true cause and significance of these events. Without a doubt, this marked the beginning of the centennial great calamity. The black mist was the manifestation of the world's calamity chi. When the great calamity appears, the calamity chi arises. These 6 words from ancient prophecy encapsulated the situation perfectly. What else but the power of the great calamity could produce such terrifying effects? It spread with such vastness and speed that even immortals were reduced to mere insects, destroyed in an instant. Only the term Great Calamity could explain all this. Hurry, contact the ancestors. Faced with this unprecedented situation, the middle and upper-tier powers of the immortal domain were gripped by fear, yet there was little they could do. In the face of such calamity, they were powerless, able only to place their hopes on the protection of their Earth immortal ancestors. Only the presence of Earth immortal domains could shield them from the calamity chi. From this day forward, the Xianxia Immortal Domain was steeped in a heavy, oppressive atmosphere. Even those sects that were unaware of the details began to close off their territories, their members filled with uncertainty and dread as news of the catastrophe spread. Fortunately, as the ancestral figures of the various sects began to emerge, Earth immortals were dispatched to the sites of calamity chi outbreaks. Their overwhelming auras brought a glimmer of hope to the domain's beleaguered cultivators. In each of the affected areas, Earth immortals stood vigil, their expressions grave as they observed the black vortices of chaos below. What were once stunning, paradisiacal regions had been transformed into churning maelstroms of black mist, emitting a continuous, ominous rumble. Within these maelstroms, one could even glimpse the twisted remains of immortals, a sight that was both ghastly and heart-wrenching. The great calamity has begun. Even immortals are but insects before it. Even the earth immortals could not help but sigh with sorrow at the sight. They knew that had they not ascended to the earth immortal stage and established their domains, they too would have been powerless against the calamity chi, with no chance of survival. For those at the true immortal level, they might manage to cling to life for a little longer, but it would be no more than a temporary reprieve. Chapter 13:19, Suppressing the Calamity Chi, Inspiration for Crossing the Tribulation Part 2. As the Calamity Chi continued to pollute and devour, it was inevitable that one day, it too would become just another unremarkable corpse among the countless others. Fortunately, we've detected it early enough. It's just a precursor for now. The priority is to suppress it as quickly as possible. With that, the Earth Immortal sovereigns, realizing the gravity of the situation, dared not delay. Muttering to themselves, they activated their techniques, unleashing their immortal power and summoned their respective domains. In an instant, the Earth Immortal domains erupted with primordial power, transforming the laws of the void and ascending to their peak. Like a massive celestial canopy suddenly unfurled, it expanded with the wind, shrouded in immortal light, and descended with overwhelming force. Vast continents of the immortal domain, now under the control of the Earth Immortal sovereigns, surged forth to suppress the Calamity Chi vortex. Boom, boom, boom. The Calamity Chi vortex, sensing the threat, became even more ferocious. Black mist mixed with chaotic torrents surged upwards, defying the heavens. The vortex spun with increasing speed, stirring the winds and clouds, shattering a section of the void, a truly terrifying sight. Under the influence of the Calamity Chi, the void of the immortal domain became as fragile as thin paper. As the two forces clashed, the space within a 100-mile radius shattered with a resounding crash. Fragments of the broken void turned into a despairing rain, swept by the storm, ravaging the world within the chaotic, violent aftermath. This scene was extraordinarily shocking, akin to a powerful being in the universe shaking the very fabric of space. The vast heavens and earth darkened under the collision of these two forces, the sun and moon losing their light. In an instant, this scene unfolded in many places within the immortal domain, sending chills down the spines of countless cultivators. On that day, it seemed as if dozens of dark stars appeared within the Zalonaming immortal domain, each erupting with boundless destructive power, devouring everything. In this struggle, the celestial canopies formed by the Earth immortal domains clashed fiercely with the Calamity Chi, neither side giving an inch. Both contained the primal power of the world, engaging in a cosmic duel. The very will of the immortal domain was affected, with ominous phenomena occurring even in areas not yet touched by the Calamity Chi. Blood-red fissures tore open in the sky, casting a crimson light. The sound of the heavens weeping echoed continuously, inducing a profound despair in the hearts of countless cultivators within the immortal domain. This terrifying scene persisted for some time, until the Earth immortal sovereigns managed to temporarily suppress the Calamity Chi at its source, bringing a temporary calm. Yet everyone knew that the world was about to become anything but peaceful. As the omens of the great calamity unfolded, Jiang Chengxuan, within the Immortal Alliance, remained unaware of these events. He was currently seated in his alchemy chamber, focusing intently on the Shanghai furnace before him, continuously channeling immortal energy into it. From the Shanghai furnace, mysterious phenomena began to manifest, reflecting scenes of various mountains and rivers from the immortal realm within the chamber, the light of immortality dazzling. The intense alchemical flames enveloped the chamber, their radiant colors shifting through red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple, each more vibrant than the last. Within these flames, the essence extracted from the immortal herbs was being carefully refined, and fused by Jiang Chengxuan's Taoist power. The dense aura of Taoist laws and medicinal fragrance surged alongside the rising flames. Then, at a certain moment, Jiang Chengxuan suddenly opened his eyes, revealing a sharp glint. His hands quickly formed a series of intricate seals, pushing them toward the Shanghai furnace. A wave of profound energy struck the furnace's surface. Immediately, the furnace trembled. The flames reflecting the mountains and rivers within it spun faster, concentrating the essence of the immortal herbs into a single point. Hum, hum, hum. A series of humming sounds reverberated as the essences of the herbs merged precisely, giving birth to new Taoist laws. These laws, infused with Jiang Chengxuan's deep understanding of alchemy, flowed together in perfect harmony. The elixir he was refining was a newly devised version of the minor tribulation pill, a product of countless refinements and iterations, each based on the feedback from Yan Han's reaction. Come forth, the pill is complete. As the chaotic energy settled, Jiang Chengxuan shouted, channeling his immortal energy to the finest degree, controlling the flames to their utmost precision, and completing the final step of the pill's formation. With a resounding boom, the furnace lid flew open, and a radiant glow shot out, landing in Jiang Chengxuan's palm. The fragrance, imbued with the power of laws, refreshed Jiang Chengxuan's exhausted spirit, calming the fiery atmosphere of the alchemy chamber, a truly profound effect. Through continuous refinement, the suppressive power of this minor tribulation pill had become formidable. But it's still missing something. Despite the success, Jiang Chengxuan frowned, murmuring to himself. This new minor tribulation pill was indeed stronger than the previous versions, but an instinctual feeling told him it still wouldn't fully resolve Yan Han's ancient injury. Over the years, each iteration of the minor tribulation pill had shown progress, yet they only managed to treat the symptoms, never addressing the root cause. Though Yan Han was already quite satisfied, each pill could now suppress the injury for 1,000 years. Jiang Chengxuan was not. It wasn't just his pursuit and dedication to alchemy driving him. It was also the promise he had made to Yan Han to cure the injury completely, not just suppress it. As a man of his word, Jiang Chengxuan took this promise very seriously. What power am I missing? In the silence of the chamber, Jiang Chengxuan stared at the pill in his hand, deep in thought. Despite scouring every alchemical text and absorbing all knowledge related to the calamity chi, he still couldn't cross that final hurdle. Even with his vast knowledge and intellect, he found himself puzzled, unable to find the answer. Let's leave it for now. After a long period of reflection, Jiang Chengxuan still couldn't pinpoint the missing element. Sighing, he calmed his thoughts, took the newly refined pill, and exited his chamber in a flash of light. Before long, he arrived at Yan Han's residence, where the latter was already waiting, having sensed his arrival. Elder Yan Han, here is the new minor tribulation pill. Wasting no time on pleasantries, Jiang Chengxuan handed the pill to Yan Han with practiced ease. Nodding in acknowledgement, Yan Han expertly swallowed the pill and began refining it. This process had occurred countless times over the years. After a while, when Yan Han opened his eyes again, Jiang Chengxuan spoke earnestly. It's still not enough. Hearing this, Yan Han waved his hand dismissively, speaking with a carefree tone. There's no rush. Being able to suppress the injury is already a great fortune. However, this response did little to ease Jiang Chengxuan's determination. Seeing this, Yan Han shifted the topic, suddenly saying, Have you heard of the recent calamity that has befallen the immortal domain? Jiang Chengxuan, surprised by the change in conversation, cupped his hands and replied, I'm all ears. With a more solemn expression, Yan Han began. Recently, a great disaster has erupted in many parts of the Zaonaming immortal domain. Dozens of immortal sects have been destroyed overnight by this disaster. Jiang Chengxuan's eyes widened in shock, his expression turning grave. Numerous ancestral figures have already intervened, heading to the disaster sites to suppress the calamity. The immortal domain is now gripped by fear. Could this be a sign of the great calamity? As soon as Jiang Chengxuan uttered these words, a sudden inspiration struck him, clearing his mind. Chapter 1320, Journey to Lanhai, Delving into the Land of Calamity, Part 1. Recently, Jiang Chengxuan had been deeply engrossed in his research on the calamity chi. The moment he heard about the so-called natural disaster, he immediately recognized it as an event triggered by the proliferation of calamity chi. Calamity Chi is a primordial force of the universe, but unlike other primordial forces, it brings no benefit to cultivators or the immortal domain. The generation and eruption of Calamity Chi is a process that cannot be halted or reversed. Its subtle, pervasive influence, vast reach, and the high level of power it embodies are all characteristics of primordial energy. However, what occupied Jiang Chengxuan's thoughts at this moment was not the nature of Calamity Chi itself. When he uttered the words Great Calamity, a sudden burst of inspiration regarding the minor tribulation pill illuminated his mind. "What's wrong, Chengxuan?" Yan Han, observing the change in Jiang Chengxuan's expression, couldn't help but ask with curiosity. As an Earth immortal, Yan Han was naturally aware of the great calamity. However, he didn't fear it, as the power of his earthly paradise could safely see him through it. Therefore, Jiang Chengxuan's strong reaction piqued his curiosity. "It's the Calamity Chi. The key to the tribulation pill lies in the Calamity Chi." Jiang Chengxuan's eyes sparkled as he turned to Yan Han, his excitement barely contained. Yan Han was momentarily stunned. Then his expression mirrored Jiang Chengxuan's surprise as he speculated, "Chengxuan, could it be that?" Jiang Chengxuan finally revealed the inspiration that had struck him. "Yes, it's the Calamity Chi. Despite all the modifications to the minor tribulation pill, it still couldn't fully cure the injury. I've been pondering what was missing, and now I understand. To heal an injury caused by Calamity Chi, the pill itself must be infused with Calamity Chi as a catalyst. Only then can the medicinal power penetrate the injury, confuse the Taoist laws, and completely dissolve it." As these words sank in, Yan Han found himself unable to remain calm. He took a deep breath, his eyes shining with newfound clarity. Though Yan Han had been satisfied with the current effectiveness of the minor tribulation pill, much of his satisfaction was out of consideration for Jiang Chengxuan's efforts. If there was a chance to fully cure his injury, that would be ideal. Despite the difficulties and risks, he knew he had to pursue it. Jiang Chengxuan's words resonated with something deep within Yan Han. It was similar to his earlier intention of using the celestial tribulation thunder to counteract the old injury with poison, a method that had triggered a subtle intuition within him, prompting him to seek out the thunder. The thought process aligned perfectly with the point Jiang Chengxuan had just illuminated. In that instant, everything clicked into place. "It seems that we should make a trip to the sites where the Calamity Chi has emerged." Both men fell into contemplative silence, pondering the situation. After a few moments, Jiang Chengxuan spoke again, his voice resolute. "Indeed, in the vastness of the immortal domain, the best place to acquire the Calamity Chi needed to refine a true tribulation pill would be those areas contaminated by the Calamity Chi." It was a serendipitous turn of events. Just as Jiang Chengxuan's research had hit a dead end, a solution had presented itself. "Agreed," Yan Han replied with no reason to object. He immediately supported the decision. As the two prepared to set off, an icy voice echoed in Jiang Chengxuan's mind. "Ding! The system has issued a task. Achieve the creation of a true tribulation pill." Jiang Chengxuan was taken aback for a moment before a smile spread across his face. The true tribulation pill. It was the complete form of the minor tribulation pill. The system's task confirmed Jiang Chengxuan's earlier hypothesis. The missing element for the tribulation pill was indeed the power and laws of the Calamity Chi. If he could obtain this and refine a true tribulation pill, Yan Han's old injury could be fully healed. "Let's go." Jiang Chengxuan wasted no time, his determination unwavering as he spoke to Yan Han. With a nod from Yan Han, the two erupted with boundless immortal energy, transforming into two beams of light that shot out of the immortal alliance. At the border between the western and northern regions of the Xianxia immortal domain lies the land of Lanhai. This area, rich in water elemental energy, was once rumored to be the ancestral land of the ancient water dragon Immortal. Over the past 10,000 years, it had been under the control of three immortal sects within the Xianxia immortal domain: the Shui Meng immortal sect, the Shui Huan immortal sect, and the Shui Jai immortal sect. These sects cultivated advanced water elemental techniques and nurtured numerous rare water element treasures and beasts. These three sects, each a middle-tier power in the immortal domain, had formed an alliance, becoming a formidable force at the border between the western and northern regions. Though they lacked an Earth immortal patriarch, their influence could not be underestimated. Together, they had fended off countless external threats, including invasions from upper-tier immortal domain forces. In one of the most perilous battles, They had even repelled an attack by an Earth immortal patriarch, gaining widespread renown. But now, all of that had become nothing more than a memory. And it happened in just one night. Not long ago, the deep, mysterious blue ocean that was Lanhai had the misfortune of becoming a site where the Calamity Chi emerged. On that day, an uncountable number of black protective shields of Chi erupted from the ocean depths. Chapter 13:21, Journey to Lanhai, Delving into the Land of Calamity, Part 2. Like volcanoes buried deep within the sea, the eruptions were violent and sudden. On that fateful day, countless cultivators of the Shui Meng Immortal Sect, Shui Huan Immortal Sect, and Shui Jai Immortal Sect felt a terrifying tremor. Suddenly, numerous islands began to crack, and eerie auras accompanied by dense bubbles began to rise from the depths. In the blink of an eye, the calamity spread across millions of miles of ocean, engulfing the territories of all three sects. The sudden disaster left the three immortal sects with no time to react. A violent earthquake followed, further exacerbating the spread and intensity of the Calamity Chi. In mere moments, hundreds and thousands of cultivators perished, their bodies dissolved entirely by the Calamity Chi, leaving nothing but bones, turning the once idyllic region into a hellish landscape. Yet this was not the end of their despair. As the Calamity Chi erupted, the seabed split open, causing the Lanhai waters to flood in, bringing about another wave of destruction on top of the initial one. Terrifying tsunamis, mixed with the chaotic Calamity Chi, surged and reached the sky. It felt as though the heavens were collapsing and the earth was turning upside down. In their desperate struggle, countless cultivators lost hope. At this very moment, Jiang Chengxuan and Yan Han were hovering above this cursed place. The two stood high in the sky, hands clasped behind their backs, their expressions solemn as they looked down. Below them lay the former site of the Shui Huan Immortal Sect's headquarters. Now, it was nothing but scattered remnants, submerged in the pitch-black waters, constantly being eroded and battered by the Calamity Chi, leaving everything in ruins. The extreme geological changes and the pervasive Calamity Chi had utterly devastated the area, transforming it into a grotesque shadow of its former self. Before them were numerous black whirlpools of varying depths, swirling in an eerie fashion, dividing the Lanhai. It was as if invisible giant hands had reached into the spinning waters, creating a chaotic and strange pattern of islands, all shrouded in the ominous black mist. There was no doubt that this was the handiwork of the Calamity Chi. Gazing at the scene, Jiang Chengxuan had no doubts in his mind. "This is the great calamity of the million-year cycle," Jiang Chengxuan muttered to himself, unable to help but sigh. His thoughts were somewhat different from those of Yan Han, who stood beside him, filled with sorrow but not overly burdened by the situation. In the vast Zhaonaming immortal domain, only he and Shen Ruyan knew that this so-called million-year calamity was just an appetizer. Beyond it lay the calamity of the 10-million-year cycle, an unfathomable catastrophe that even celestial immortals would find difficult to withstand. That was the true calamity of the immortal domain, where even Earth immortals would be as insignificant as ants. Just like the bones faintly visible in the whirlpools below, which had been powerless to stop anything. The great calamity of heaven and earth is indeed terrifying. Fortunately, we have the power of our earthly paradises to counter it, Yan Han remarked with a sigh. Hearing this, Jiang Chengxuan couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions. He wasn't sure whether he should share the knowledge of the 10-million-year calamity with the other Earth immortals. Firstly, even if he told them, ordinary people wouldn't believe it. Secondly, during a calamity, sheer numbers are meaningless. No matter how much preparation is made, when the true calamity strikes, they would only be able to survive a few more days before being buried together. Without the protection of celestial immortals or profound immortals, all efforts would be in vain. Thus, after considering everything, one simple truth remained clear. The only real choice was to continuously improve and refine one's own power. By stepping into the realm of celestial immortals, one could face the dangers of the 10-million-year calamity without fear. Reaching the level of a profound immortal would mean no calamity could threaten them. Indeed, Jiang Chengxuan thought, his resolve strengthening as he nodded, whether in agreement with Yan Han or to reaffirm his own determination. "Let's go." Without further hesitation, Jiang Chengxuan took the lead in summoning his earthly paradise, manifesting the power of the 5 elements, life and death, and reincarnation Tao laws to protect himself as he descended into the tumultuous sea of Calamity Chi. Yanhan followed suit, summoning his earthly paradise and unleashing his source power. In the endless darkness, two bright stars suddenly appeared, slowly descending into the abyss. As they moved, the Calamity Chi seemed to sense their presence and began to rage, transforming into towering black water dragons that lashed out at them from the air, trying to bring them down. Boom, 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 boom. A series of continuous explosions erupted as the black light surged. The water dragons, imbued with Calamity Chi, crashed against their protective barriers, causing the surrounding space to tremble and shed countless fragments. The remnants of the three immortal sects and the bones of their disciples were caught in the onslaught, ground into powder, an absolutely terrifying sight. However, the power of Earth immortals and the strength of their source energy were not so easily shaken. Unfazed by the resistance, Jiang Chengxuan and Yan Han remained as steady as mountains, their expressions unchanging. Shall we head straight to the source of the Calamity Chi eruption to investigate? Jiang Chengxuan suggested, his eyes narrowing as he sent a transmission to Yan Han. It was a bold decision that made Yan Han pause for a moment. After all, the usual method for Earth immortals to suppress a Calamity Chi site was to proceed cautiously, from the outside in, gradually stabilizing and sealing the area. Yet Jiang Chengxuan intended to go straight to the heart of the danger, a decision that demonstrated immense confidence. All right, Yan Han agreed after a brief moment of thought. He knew that to obtain the Calamity Chi necessary for refining the true tribulation pill, the best and quickest method was to venture into the most dangerous place. With two Earth immortals present, the risk was manageable. In the next instant, both unleashed their full Earth immortal power, fusing their Tao laws and source energy to the fullest extent. Amidst the chaotic black waters, a brilliant rainbow-colored light burst forth, carving a path through the darkness. The mystical powers of reincarnation and life and death protected their way with unparalleled dominance. Alongside them, the northern light shone brightly in the darkness, casting dreamlike yet icy radiance. It was as if a breeze from the cosmos itself had swept through Yan Han's earthly paradise, dispersing all opposing forces and destruction. With steely determination in their eyes, Jiang Chengxuan and Yan Han took a single, decisive step forward, shrinking the ground beneath them. In one breath, they covered hundreds of miles, leaving countless afterimages behind. Their radiant figures advanced step by step into the sea of Calamity Chi, tearing through every obstacle in their path. The deeper they ventured, the more violently the Calamity Chi reacted. From the depths of Lanhai, terrifying earthquakes and eruptions began to stir. Countless bubbles of Calamity Chi, like miniature dark stars, converged into a downward-flowing meteor shower, rising from below to intercept them. Simultaneously, the Calamity Chi enveloping the sky began to churn, transforming into massive, twisted hands that reached down to grasp the two immortals. A net of destruction was instantly cast over them. The Tao path that Jiang Chengxuan and Yan Han had forged began to erode under the relentless black mist, retracting visibly with each passing moment. Boom, boom, boom. The dark stars formed from Calamity Chi smashed against their barriers, triggering continuous thunderous roars that deafened the air. Their power was on par with that of Earth immortals, and the Tao laws embedded in the Calamity Chi were comparable to the force of the source itself, causing their earthly paradises to shudder under the strain. HMPH. But neither Jiang Chengxuan nor Yan Han retreated. Instead, they retaliated with equal force. Their immense immortal energy poured into their earthly paradises, and in an instant, rainbow-colored light and northern light flared brightly, expanding their Earth immortal powers. A myriad of runes formed, colliding head-on with the Calamity Chi. Boom, boom, boom. The space corrupted by the Calamity Chi shattered completely, and as the three forces clashed, the void was laid bare, unleashing a torrent of chaotic energy. The already tumultuous sea of Calamity Chi surged with colossal waves, twisted further by the terrifying aftermath, like a tattered black flag flapping in the storm. Chapter 1322, Seizing the Calamity Chi Essence, Part 1. In the region of Lanhai, now more accurately described as the Sea of Calamity Chi, the ferocity of the calamity intensified as Jiang Chengxuan and Yan Han forced their way in. The malicious energy within the sea stirred without restraint, unleashing its destructive fury upon the world. Calamity Chi, as a derivative of primordial essence, possesses a certain consciousness. Like all primordial forces, it inherently carries a sense of destiny. When threatened, its first instinct is to react violently, launching a relentless counterattack. To the consciousness of the calamity Qi, Jiang Chengxuan and Yan Han were undoubtedly formidable threats capable of jeopardizing its existence. Thus, it unleashed its most terrifying power as soon as it felt endangered. In this battle, both Jiang Chengxuan and Yan Han truly experienced the eerie nature of calamity Qi. Its power was comparable to that of primordial essence, yet it was not scarce. Vast quantities of it seemed to defy the natural law of extremes. As they delved deeper into the chaos, each bearing the weight of their earthly paradises, it was as if they carried divine wheels, resisting the destructive forces of the world. Although the overwhelming waves of calamity Qi could not suppress them, its ceaseless assault from the turbulent Black Sea began to wear on them as they ventured further. Boom, boom, boom. By this time, both had already summoned their respective immortal weapons. Jiang Chengxuan wielded the Jiangjin Void Sword, its every swing and slash unleashing brilliant golden lightning, as if invoking the wrath of gods within the chaotic darkness. Yan Han, on the other hand, wielded a long blade imbued with the North Pole divine light, harnessing the power of countless celestial bodies. His Dao power froze the surrounding space, causing all things to wither. Thanks to the healing effects of Jiang Chengxuan's small tribulation pill, Yan Han's strength had increased significantly since their previous battle in the southern state of Zhaonaming immortal domain. Now fighting alongside Jiang Chengxuan, he showed no signs of weakness, exuding a dominant aura. It was worth noting that Yan Han had already fought several deadly battles with his old wounds before this confrontation. Throughout the fight, Jiang Chengxuan also displayed terrifying combat prowess, having improved since their last encounter. As the battle grew more intense, the void trembled, the universe seemed to turn upside down, and stars fell from the sky. Yet within this chaos, Jiang Chengxuan and Yan Han only became more resolute, their synergy and coordination growing exponentially. After overcoming initial difficulties, their combined earthly immortal powers tore through the chaotic sea of calamity Qi, stirring up a storm. The oppressive black mist that had blanketed the sky trembled and was gradually dispelled, subdued by their force. For a moment, it seemed that the entire region of Lanhai began to show signs of recovery, as nearly all the calamity Qi was drawn towards Jiang Chengxuan and Yan Han. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of shattering countless forms created by the calamity Qi, Jiang Chengxuan and Yan Han reached the deepest part of the sea. Before them lay an astonishing sight. It was an ocean hidden within the ocean itself, deeper and darker than the surrounding abyss. Massive fissures in the earth, like festering wounds, formed a continuous stretch, resembling solidified waves or layers of exposed flesh. Within these gaping wounds, a molten black substance, condensed to the extreme, flowed sluggishly. The vapors rising from this molten material formed the strange bubbles that surged towards the surface. The density of the calamity Qi here was so overwhelming that even Jiang Chengxuan and Yan Han were taken aback, with Yan Han's old wounds beginning to throb in pain. The source of the calamity Qi must be within. We must find it quickly and not waste any time, Jiang Chengxuan, bathed in divine light, said with a grave tone. The so-called essence of the calamity Qi was the very source from which the calamity Qi emerged. It harbored the purest energy within the land of calamity, and was the crucial component Jiang Chengxuan needed to refine the true tribulation pill. The tribulation lightning that Shen Ruyan had obtained in the secret realm was also a source of calamity Qi from a past eruption, sealed away by an unknown force for countless years, which had weakened its power and made it easier to capture. However, the calamity Qi essence here was undoubtedly a much more formidable entity. Yes, let's end this quickly, Yan Han agreed with a nod. The calamity Qi from all directions was continuously aggravating his injuries. He had already taken another small tribulation pill to successfully suppress the discomfort. Thus, to extract the calamity Qi essence, they would need to act with swift and decisive force. Let's see where you're hiding. Jiang Chengxuan decisively unleashed his power, no longer concealing his aura. Divine light burst from his hand, and the earth immortal power transformed his Jiangjin Void Sword into a massive thick earth spear. With a mighty swing, the spear, imbued with the power of 1,000,000 stars, tore through the void, disrupting the calamity Qi and crashing into the undulating mountain range. In an instant, it was as if a mountain had been moved from nowhere, causing the space around it to shatter inch by inch. Countless stars reflected off the spear, illuminating the area with a fearsome light, further fragmenting the already ravaged Lanhai. Boom, boom, boom. Amidst this chaos, The black lava formed by the Calamity Chi erupted violently, sending columns of pitch-black energy roaring skyward. Chapter 1323, Seizing the Calamity Chi Essence Part 2. The eruption of Calamity Chi in the depths of the land sea was unlike anything ever seen before. The surge was not scorching hot like a volcanic eruption, but instead brought a bone-chilling cold that seeped deep into one's soul. In this distorted space, no other Tao forces existed. Calamity Chi had devoured and dominated everything. It was as if Jiang Chengxuan and Yan Han had been dragged into a new plane of existence, where even their connection to the immortal domain had thinned. Fortunately, their earthly immortal domains anchored them, preventing them from being lost in the abyss. Boom! The collision of their formidable powers caused the earth to quake violently, splitting open an abyssal chasm that stretched for thousands of miles. The twisted lava formed from Calamity Chi splattered everywhere as Jiang Chengxuan's overwhelming power drove his thick earth spear deep into the ground, stirring a chaotic tempest. In that instant, everything, the black mist formed by Calamity Chi, the concentrated essence of the Calamity Chi, the heavy earth, and the turbulent sea, was thrown into turmoil, creating a chaotic swirl of destruction. Jiang Chengxuan's forceful strike shattered the eerie stillness, opening the battlefield with an imposing display of power. There it is. Both Jiang Chengxuan and Yan Han simultaneously sensed the presence they had been searching for. It was a pure essence of destruction, yet it carried the unmistakable aura of a source, intertwined with the entire sea of Calamity Chi, constantly moving and evading detection. If not for Jiang Chengxuan's powerful strike disrupting the area, this entity would have remained hidden, imperceptible even to beings of earthly immortal level. Polar Aurora. Yan Han was the first to act. His earthly immortal domain surged with profound waves of power, radiating outwards as a dazzling aurora. The Calamity Chi in the area froze almost instantly, as if time itself had paused, leaving Yan Han unaffected. Wielding his celestial blade, he unleashed a blinding slash that illuminated the entire Calamity Chi zone, cutting through layers of defenses to strike at the core essence. As the polar aurora illuminated the area, Yan Han finally glimpsed the true form of the Calamity Chi essence. It was a twisted, grotesque creature resembling a fish with multiple wings, its body appearing as if molded from a mass of black sludge, an entity of pure malevolence. Though its appearance was repulsive, Yan Han dared not lower his guard, intensifying his assault with the polar aurora. In the void of chaos, beams of aurora connected to form a massive array, with Yan Han at its center. The array's combined power forced the Calamity Chi essence to retreat. However, just as the polar aurora was about to seal the essence, it responded with a desperate outburst of power. The entity's twisted fish-like body writhed within the aurora, generating a barrier of pure Calamity Chi that polluted the area around it, creating a shield. Simultaneously, an immense wave of Calamity Chi surged from the depths, merging into the essence's form, causing it to swell to hundreds of times its original size. With a horrifying roar, the monstrous entity opened its maw, seemingly swallowing the entirety of the polar aurora. This unexpected move left Yan Han momentarily stunned, though he quickly regained his composure, shifting from offense to defense as he summoned his earthly immortal domain to block the Calamity Chi's renewed assault. Within this chaotic battle, the essence of Calamity Chi pursued relentlessly, launching streams of corrupted energy. The assault consisted of the Tao forces it had consumed from the three destroyed immortal sects, combined with the inherent power of the land sea. Now wielded as weapons, these energies were violently unleashed upon the void, their force amplified by the corrupting influence of the Calamity Chi, resulting in chaotic, twisted attacks. Primordial Waterfire Sword arise. Realizing the critical nature of the situation, Jiang Chengxuan decided not to hold back any longer. With a single shout, he unleashed his most powerful offensive technique. The earthly immortal domain behind him radiated a brilliant light as boundless primordial water and fire energy divided and spread out, creating two vast pathways that the Calamity Chi could not suppress or devour. These paths, shrouded in primordial light, split the void into red and blue hues. In Jiang Chengxuan's hand, the primordial waterfire sword appeared, crackling with immense power. With a single step, he traversed miles in an instant, the celestial blade in hand cutting through the chaotic storm of mixed Tao forces. The earthly immortal treasure demonstrated its terrifying strength, obliterating the attacks formed from corrupted Tao forces and reducing them to scattered fragments. Without losing momentum, the sword thrust forward, aiming directly at the core of the Calamity Chi essence. The primordial power enveloped Jiang Chengxuan, forming a stream of intertwined water and fire energy that hurtled toward the target like a comet. Boom! The entire calamity sea shook with the impact, and for the first time, colors other than black appeared beneath the dark surface. The red and blue primordial light spread from the point of impact, driving back the black mist across thousands of miles. The clash of three sources of power tore apart the void, further widening the rift created by their battle and unleashing more calamity chi, which whipped the area into a violent storm. Changshuan, I'll support you. Yan Han, without hesitation, joined the fray with a swing of his celestial blade, escalating the conflict. For a prolonged period, the land sea became a battlefield of unimaginable ferocity, more terrifying than when the calamity chi had first erupted. The ground shook with each exchange, resonating with the cataclysmic forces at play. Finally, exploiting a gap created by Yan Han, Jiang Chengshuan's eyes flashed with cold determination as his primordial water-fire sword pierced through the core of the calamity chi essence. The seal engraved on the sword embedded itself deep within the entity, marking the end of the chaotic battle. In the aftermath of their departure, the land sea gradually returned to a semblance of calm, with the once raging calamity chi retreating into the depths or dissipating into the immortal domain's natural order. Back at the rogue immortal alliance, Jiang Chengshuan and Yan Han reappeared, their faces showing signs of relief as they exchanged a knowing glance. With the task completed, they parted ways, each returning to their respective abodes to recuperate and reflect on the intense battle. Inside his own chamber, Jiang Chengshuan wasted no time preparing to forge the true crossing calamity pill. The core of calamity chi they had sealed now rested within a specially crafted treasure box, formed from leftover 5-element immortal stones. The sealed essence had taken the shape of a bizarre black jade, soft to the touch, yet retaining the texture of stone, its presence marked by a faint, ever-present aura of calamity. Before commencing the pill forging, Jiang Chengshuan took a few days to restore himself to peak condition. Only then did he summon his mountain and sea furnace, ready to begin. His practiced hands swiftly brought the alchemical flames to their zenith, refining each rare medicinal herb into droplets of pure essence, held in suspension by his precise control. As time passed, Jiang Chengshuan meticulously completed each preparation. Finally, with a serious expression, he brought forth the core of calamity chi, known as the calamity jade. This essence, akin to other source materials, was a rare and formidable substance. Even Jiang Chengshuan, with his vast experience, couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement as he prepared to use it in his alchemy. Chapter 1324. Refining the Calamity Chi Essence, Shen Ruyan emerges from seclusion Part 1. Inside the alchemy chamber of the rogue immortal alliance, Jiang Chengshuan held the precious treasure in his hands, his heart filled with a mixture of excitement and solemnity. This time, he was about to refine the true calamity-crossing pill, a celestial pill that could heal Yan Han's injuries and fulfill his long-standing promise. Additionally, there was the system task hanging over his head, making this alchemical process of utmost importance. In truth, the true calamity-crossing pill didn't fully exist within the upper volumes of the Celestial Pill Compendium. Its original name was either the Calamity-Defying Pill or the Calamity-Guarding Pill, designed to protect cultivators below the earthly immortal stage from being eroded by calamity chi during catastrophic events. However, Jiang Chengshuan had taken this base formula, and through various secret methods and deep insights, transformed it into the true calamity-crossing pill. Its medicinal effect had shifted from merely resisting calamity chi to actively dissolving the harm caused by it. Though this change might seem subtle, it required an extraordinary mastery of alchemy, a profound understanding of calamity chi, and insights into the rules of the immortal domain and the nature of primordial forces. Without these, it would have been impossible to achieve. Even now, after countless tests with Yan Han, Jiang Chengshuan wasn't entirely sure of the true calamity-crossing pill's efficacy. Although the system's task suggested the pill's potential, the true outcome could only be confirmed through its successful refinement. Healing could manifest in various ways. Whether it took 1,000 years or 10,000 years, it would still be considered healing. One way to find out. With that thought, Jiang Chengshuan cleared his mind of distractions. After taking several deep breaths, he severed all extraneous thoughts and focused entirely on the task at hand. Suddenly, the entire alchemy chamber was enveloped in a peculiar stillness. The flames within the mountain and sea furnace, which reflected scenes of myriad worlds, seemed to slow down, flickering with a strange rhythm as if leaving behind afterimages. Time itself seemed to decelerate, though this was merely an illusion brought about by Jiang Chengshuan's intense concentration, causing the surrounding environment to enter a mysterious state. This was the advantage of being an earthly immortal-level alchemist, a skill that set him apart from others. It was also why earthly immortal-level alchemists were so rare and precious within the vast immortal domain. Such mastery allowed him to control the environment around him, bending it to his will. Rise. With a low growl, Jiang Chengxuan triggered the opening of the treasure box crafted from 5-element immortal stones. A surge of black light erupted as a drop of inky essence, swirling with calamity chi, slowly emerged, suspending itself in midair, constantly shifting and writhing. The moment the calamity chi essence appeared, the specialized domain Jiang Chengxuan had created began to tremble slightly. Only by exerting his will did he manage to suppress it. This inky essence, known as the calamity ink Jade, was the source of the calamity chi, a disharmonious presence in the otherwise serene environment, prompting Jiang Chengxuan to furrow his brow in concentration. Refine. At his command, the sea of flames within the furnace roared to life. The alchemical fire, under Jiang Chengxuan's precise control, surged toward the calamity ink Jade, seeking to envelop and refine it. Buzz. As soon as the flames touched the calamity ink Jade, a terrifying force erupted. A wave of black mist radiated outward, corroding the surrounding space and creating a void that resisted the refining fire, a sight that momentarily startled Jiang Chengxuan. Despite being suppressed, the calamity ink Jade still possessed a startling degree of autonomy and intelligence, making it a formidable opponent. Spatial force opened the path. But Jiang Chengxuan wasn't about to back down. Silver light burst forth from his body as he activated the power of spatial truth. Ripples of silver energy spread from his form, extending into the void and merging with the corrupted space created by the calamity ink Jade. Slowly but surely, the spatial energy began to fill in the void, neutralizing the resistance without disturbing the delicate balance of the alchemy chamber. This delicate maneuver not only overcame the calamity ink Jade's defenses, but also ensured that the other alchemical processes remained undisturbed, a testament to Jiang Chengxuan's unparalleled skill. He understood that maintaining stability was paramount in this process. Without it, even if the calamity ink Jade were refined, the absence of other crucial ingredients would render the entire effort futile. The greatest challenge in refining the true calamity crossing pill was taming the essence of calamity chi without disrupting the environment. These primordial substances had a profound connection to the world, capable of triggering significant changes in their surroundings with the slightest movement, much like breathing. As Jiang Chengxuan reinforced the spatial boundaries, the alchemical fire resumed its assault on the calamity ink Jade, only to be met with another barrier. This time, the calamity ink Jade flared with intense black light, signaling the start of a new phase in this titanic struggle. Chapter 1325. Refining the Essence of Calamity Chi, Shen Ruyan emerges from seclusion Part 2. In the alchemy chamber of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, Jiang Chengxuan held the precious material in his hand, feeling a surge of excitement in his heart. This time, he was about to refine the true tribulation-dispelling pill, a celestial pill that could heal Xianxia Immortal's wounds and fulfill his promise. Moreover, there was a system task associated with this endeavor, making the process extremely critical and challenging. The true tribulation-dispelling pill, in its original form, was known as the calamity-dispelling pill or the protection tribulation pill. Its primary function was to protect cultivators below the Earth immortal level from being eroded by calamity chi during great calamities. Jiang Chengxuan had modified this pill from its original form, adapting it with various secret techniques and his profound understanding to create the true tribulation-dispelling pill. The pill's effect had evolved from merely resisting the erosion of calamity chi to fully dispelling the damage caused by it. At first glance, the difference might seem minor, but without a deep understanding of alchemy, calamity chi, and the rules of the celestial domain, it would be nearly impossible to achieve. Even now, after numerous tests with Xianxia Immortal, Jiang Chengxuan still couldn't be entirely sure of the pill's effectiveness. Although the appearance of the system task gave him some confidence, the true outcome would only be revealed once the pill was successfully refined and tested. After taking a deep breath, Jiang Chengxuan focused all his attention. The entire alchemy chamber fell into a mystical stillness, with the fire of the mountain and river furnace flickering steadily, casting reflections of the myriad celestial scenes. Time seemed to slow down, but it was merely Jiang Chengxuan's intense concentration that affected the surroundings, plunging the space into a unique state. This was the advantage of being a celestial alchemist at the Earth immortal level, an ability few could match. Such control over a domain was a hallmark of an alchemist who had mastered the power of origin. "Begin," Jiang Chengxuan whispered, and the box forged from the 5 elements celestial stone opened, revealing a black light that seeped out slowly. Inside was a peculiar dark jade-like substance, exuding dense calamity chi. The moment it appeared, the refined domain created by Jiang Chengxuan trembled slightly, but he quickly stabilized it with his willpower, suppressing the calamity chi. This was the essence of calamity chi, the core material needed to refine the true tribulation-dispelling pill, known as the celestial calamity wraith. As the mountain and river furnace flames extended towards it, the wraith emitted a strange fluctuation, releasing a dense black mist that corroded the space, creating a void to resist the refining fire. Jiang Chengxuan was momentarily surprised by this resistance, noting the wraith's instinctual response and intelligence, despite being suppressed. "Use the power of primal chaos," Jiang Chengxuan reacted swiftly, unleashing the power of the 5 elements, specifically the primal chaos of water and fire, to envelop the celestial calamity wraith. The primal chaos force was also an origin power, and as it clashed with the calamity chi, they began to merge and attempt to dominate each other. This confrontation was extremely perilous, occurring at the level of fundamental laws. Jiang Chengxuan closed his eyes, focusing all his strength on stabilizing the domain and integrating the primal chaos power into the wraith. After an extended period, the terrifying calamity chi manifestation was finally dispelled by Jiang Chengxuan's primal chaos power. The celestial calamity wraith, now subdued, was marked with chains of primal chaos water and fire, sealing its power. Jiang Chengxuan sighed in relief, feeling a sense of accomplishment. He knew he had just overcome the first major hurdle in refining the true tribulation-dispelling pill. With renewed determination, Jiang Chengxuan continued the process, carefully merging the essence of the celestial calamity wraith into the pill. The final step was to integrate all the materials into a cohesive whole, a delicate process requiring immense concentration and understanding of celestial laws. Meanwhile, time flowed relentlessly across the celestial domain, with centuries passing in the blink of an eye. In another part of the rogue cultivator alliance, a powerful surge of energy suddenly erupted from a secluded cave, shaking the heavens and earth. Dark clouds gathered in the sky, with thunder rumbling ominously. 2 distinct types of lightning split the sky, one shimmering with primal chaos, the other shrouded in dark red mist, causing tremors across the entire alliance. Recognizing the familiar aura, the alliance's elders rushed to the scene, only to be met by the imposing figure of Xianxia Immortal, who had arrived first. "Primal chaos divine lightning, celestial tribulation lightning," Xianxia Immortal muttered, his gaze intense. Realizing the source of the phenomenon, the elder's expression shifted from concern to joy. "It's Elder Shen Ruyan. She has broken through once again." The fearsome display of power was none other than Shen Ruyan emerging from seclusion after nearly 1,000 years. She had finally completed her cultivation and advanced to the highest level within her current realm. As the thunderous storm receded, Shen Ruyan appeared, radiating celestial light. Her face, obscured by a veil of primal chaos, exuded an aura of unmatched elegance and authority as she descended from the sky. The elders of the alliance, recognizing her achievement, approached her with words of congratulation and admiration. "Congratulations, Elder Shen Ruyan, on advancing your cultivation. This is truly a blessing for our alliance. Elder Shen Ruyan, your progress is an inspiration to us all." Shen Ruyan acknowledged their praises with a slight nod, her voice soft yet firm. "Thank you, elders. I apologize for any disturbance." After exchanging pleasantries, Shen Ruyan learned of the ominous signs of the approaching great calamity. The news tempered her joy, making her more cautious. Despite her significant progress, Shen Ruyan understood that the looming calamity posed a challenge far beyond individual achievements. Her thoughts soon turned to Jiang Chengxuan, and she eagerly inquired about his whereabouts, only to learn that he too was deep in seclusion. Chapter 13:26. The True Tribulation Dispelling Pill is Complete, Part 1. Outside Shen Ruyan's abode, numerous elders from the Rogue Cultivator Alliance gathered to present their congratulatory gifts. Countless disciples, having heard the news, came to witness her celestial presence, creating an incredibly lively scene. Among the attendees were Feng Zhu and Elder Su. Over the years, both of them had made significant progress in their cultivation and held high positions within the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Even the fierce fairy Lai Zhan was among them. These women were considered Shen Ruyan's closest confidants within the alliance, handling various tasks and missions as directed by their sect. Ruyan, congratulations. Big Sister Ruyan, you're truly amazing. Congratulations, your cultivation level has almost reached the mid-stage of true immortal. It's truly enviable. The three women expressed their joy and admiration as they exchanged pleasantries with Shen Ruyan. Together, the four celestial beauties, gathered in one place, were like legendary fairies from the Jade pool, adding a touch of ethereal brilliance to the world. Meanwhile, in another part of the rogue cultivator alliance, specifically within Jiang Chengxuan's dwelling, the atmosphere was intense, with radiant energy surging wildly. The massive mountain and river furnace had been pushed to its limits, its enormous form expanding to occupy 80% of the space, resembling a nine-colored mountain that dominated the area. The furnace's surface glowed with celestial light, and various mystical phenomena appeared on it, reflecting the wonders of multiple celestial realms. Jiang Chengxuan's figure floated in the center of the mountain and river furnace, surrounded by the power of his earth immortal domain, enveloped in countless laws, while simultaneously manipulating the power of origin and the primal forces. These two immense energies, under his control, transformed into dragons that coiled around the mountain-like furnace, continually releasing their power into the alchemical process. At a certain moment, a clear dragon's roar echoed through the heavens and earth. Jiang Chengxuan suddenly opened his eyes, his body trembling as he shouted, "The pill is complete." He waved his hands, forming afterimages that quickly coalesced into a series of complex seals. Each seal emitted a mysterious fluctuation as it struck the mountain and river furnace, causing the flames within to burn even hotter, continuously escalating in power. An ancient and vast aura began to seep out, and radiant light squeezed through the furnace's seams, illuminating the entire alchemy chamber. In that instant, a mysterious will descended, penetrating the mountain and river furnace. Suddenly, a brilliant star of origin rose slowly, breaking through the furnace's confinement and hovering in the void. The star's overwhelming aura caused the massive mountain and river furnace to tremble uncontrollably. Even Jiang Chengxuan was forced back 10 steps before he could stabilize the residual energy. Merge. Jiang Chengxuan's eyes narrowed as he activated the laws of the 5 elements, reincarnation and life and death. He moved through the void, suppressing the radiant star. This star was none other than the true tribulation-dispelling pill, though it was not yet fully formed. At this level of alchemy, the pill required the will of the heavens to perfect its internal laws. However, this true tribulation-dispelling pill suddenly broke free from its constraints, resisting the heavenly will's integration, a sign of its extraordinary nature. But Jiang Chengxuan would not allow it to escape his control. He unleashed his full power, employing a thunderous technique. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, his terrifying earth immortal power swept through the void, dissolving the pill's resistance into nothingness. No matter what, the creation of this pill was entirely within Jiang Chengxuan's control. He knew its power better than the pill itself, a testament to his profound mastery in alchemy. The once brilliant star quickly dimmed, revealing the true form of the true tribulation-dispelling pill. Its entire body was as dark as ink, with 9-colored spiritual light flowing within it, and a faint red halo encircling it like a solar corona, exuding a domineering aura. The power of origin was condensed within, waiting to be unleashed. Merge the pill. Jiang Chengxuan acted without hesitation, spreading his earth immortal power across the entire space, enveloping the pill within his domain. He guided the heavenly will, merging it into the true tribulation-dispelling pill. Boom, boom, boom. As the pill and heavenly will fused, a terrifying explosion shook the entire cave. In the vast sky above, a celestial rift suddenly opened, exuding the auras of both destruction and creation. The overwhelming energy pierced through layers of barriers, enveloping the main sect of the rogue cultivator alliance. What's happening? Is this the aura of calamity? Damn it, could this be the calamity chi about to erupt in our sect? Disciples of the rogue cultivator alliance were shocked and began to panic. As they gazed at the celestial rift above, they felt as insignificant as specks of dust. Given the recent calamities frequently erupting across the Xianxia celestial realm, it was hard not to associate this scene with those disasters. What is that? It seems like the aura of calamity. Could it be? Even the elders gathered outside Shen Ruyan's dwelling sensed the overwhelming aura, and the joy in their hearts quickly turned to cold dread. Chapter 13:27. The True Tribulation Dispelling Pill is complete Part 2. What should have been a moment of triumph for Shen Ruyan's breakthrough threatened to turn into tragedy if the Calamity Chi suddenly erupted. For a moment, even Shen Ruyan furrowed her brows, holding her breath in anticipation. Do not worry, that is not Calamity Chi. Fortunately, Xianxia, the immortal elder, reassured everyone as he stood firmly in place. Seeing the calmness in his eyes and even a hint of excitement, everyone felt reassured. If I'm not mistaken, Elder Chengxuan should be emerging from his seclusion. Xianxia's next words stirred the crowd, turning their initial shock into delight. At the mention of Jiang Chengxuan's name, the panic that had gripped their hearts quickly dissipated. Shen Ruyan's eyes immediately brightened as she gazed intently towards Jiang Chengxuan's abode. The name Jiang Chengxuan carried a unique power here. Even the great calamity threatening the celestial realm seemed to pale in comparison. He's here. At Xianxia's quiet utterance, the celestial rift that had torn across the sky suddenly reversed, transforming into a magnificent river cascading downwards like a waterfall from the heavens. The immense energy it carried surged powerfully, scattering across many parts of the rogue cultivator alliance, causing countless disciples to feel their cultivation levels surge upward, eliciting gasps of astonishment. Even the mere remnants of this power were a great boon to them. Boom, boom, boom. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, the grand river of energy finally poured into Jiang Chengxuan's abode. The turbulent waves and the burst of primordial light that followed were so intense that even true immortal cultivators struggled to comprehend it. Only Xianxia could see through the residual energy to the truth. Amid the calming river of energy, a figure slowly emerged, walking against the current and stepping into the void. He bore the nine-colored blessed land on his back, his aura ancient and vast, even more powerful than before. Clearly, refining the true tribulation-dispelling pill had significantly enhanced Jiang Chengxuan's strength. Welcome back, Elder Chengxuan. Congratulations, Elder Chengxuan, on completing your seclusion. Moments later, as Jiang Chengxuan approached, the light around him faded, revealing his presence to the gathered elders, who promptly offered their congratulations. Jiang Chengxuan smiled and nodded in acknowledgement. Noticing Xianxia's eager and excited gaze, he returned a nod, giving Xianxia a reassuring look. Overjoyed, Xianxia bowed respectfully in return. However, Jiang Chengxuan did not rush. He walked over to Shen Ruyan and spoke softly, "My lady, you've emerged from seclusion. Congratulations." Without hesitation, Shen Ruyan stepped forward and replied gently, "Husband, your cultivation has advanced once again. I cannot afford to fall too far behind." After exchanging a few words with Shen Ruyan, Jiang Chengxuan turned to the other elders of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance and said, "I apologize for disturbing you, elders." No one harbored any resentment, and they all reassured him that it was a minor issue, offering congratulations once more to Jiang Chengxuan as they had to Shen Ruyan. On this day, the Rogue Cultivator Alliance's two pillars had both seen significant advancements in their cultivation, making it a day truly worth celebrating. "Chengxuan, how did it go?" When the conversations had ended, Xianxia, who had been holding back his question, finally spoke up. Jiang Chengxuan stepped forward, past the gathered elders, and with a wave of his hand, he produced an item amidst a burst of celestial light. Everyone's gaze was drawn to it, a small gourd translucent white like glass, revealing its contents inside. But what captured their attention was not the gourd itself, but the pill within it. The pill resembled a dark star, creating an entire universe within the gourd, radiating primordial light. Its aura was extraordinary, almost otherworldly. Even the most knowledgeable among them could not help but marvel at it. To use a primordial object to refine a pill, such an act was nearly unheard of in the celestial realm. "This is the true tribulation-dispelling pill. I trust it will fulfill my promise." As Xianxia gazed at the pill with awe, Jiang Chengxuan spoke slowly. In the ensuing silence, Xianxia, with tears in his eyes, took the gourd containing the pill. He let out a long sigh before bowing deeply to Jiang Chengxuan. "No matter the outcome, it is time to bring this to an end. Even if this pill cannot completely heal my old wounds, our deal is fulfilled. From now on, whatever you need, do not hesitate to ask. I will not refuse." These words, filled with sincerity, expressed the depth of Xianxia's gratitude. He knew well how much Jiang Chengxuan had sacrificed to fulfill this promise, and he understood the difficulty of the task. Even after tens of thousands of years, he himself had not found a solution. The fact that Jiang Chengxuan had resolved it so quickly filled Xuanhan with immense gratitude. Even if the results were not perfect, Xuanhan had no intention of leaving the rogue cultivator alliance or damaging his relationship with Jiang Chengxuan. "Haha, this pill will work. Rest assured," Jiang Chengxuan replied confidently, touched by Xuanhan's heartfelt words. Without further delay, Xuanhan opened the gourd containing the pill. Hum! Immediately, a mysterious wave of energy burst forth, like a universe unfolding, filling the sky with cosmic clouds. The true tribulation-dispelling pill floated out of the gourd, radiating an overpowering aura, as if it were the center of the universe, hovering in the void. Without pause, Xuanhan summoned his blessed land, elevating his power to its peak. Then, he enveloped the true tribulation-dispelling pill in his immortal energy and swallowed it, settling into meditation within the cosmic phenomenon to begin the refining process. This was destined to be a long and arduous process. The true tribulation-dispelling pill was incredibly difficult to refine and even harder to absorb. Fully harnessing its power to neutralize the Calamity Chi's damage was a task only an Earth Immortal could accomplish. Even for an Earth Immortal, it was no easy feat. "No need to worry, everyone. Let's leave him to it," Jiang Chengxuan reassured the elders as they watched Xuanhan meditate, bathed in primordial celestial light, as still and resolute as a stone Buddha. His words convinced the elders to disperse. From that day onward, Xuanhan's cosmic phenomenon grew daily as he gradually refined the pill's power. In the rogue cultivator alliance, a mysterious starry cloud hovered, expanding day by day, becoming a wondrous sight. Meanwhile, Jiang Chengxuan felt no concern. After spending some time exchanging cultivation insights and strengthening his bond with Shen Ruyan, he too returned to seclusion to resume his own cultivation. During the process of refining the true tribulation-dispelling pill, Jiang Chengxuan had continuously comprehended the celestial realm's laws and the power of the primordial source, bringing him closer to breaking through his current bottleneck. His celestial energy, having been refined by the source of heaven, was steadily transforming into primordial energy, progressing naturally. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan was just a step away from reaching the mid-stage of the Earth Immortal realm. Just a thin barrier stood between him and his goal. With the impending million-year celestial catastrophe drawing ever closer, Jiang Chengxuan wasted no time. He immediately began working on breaking through this final barrier. After extensive research into Calamity Chi and Great Tribulations, Jiang Chengxuan had developed a keen sensitivity to the approaching disaster. He estimated that the full force of the catastrophe would erupt in just a few thousand years. To prepare for this, he knew that breaking through his current cultivation level was merely the first step. And so, after a brief period of excitement and celebration, time in the celestial realm returned to a state of quiet anticipation. Yet beneath this calm surface, powerful undercurrents surged. Countless forces were frantically mobilizing in preparation for the Great Tribulation, with even Earth Immortal elders finding it impossible to remain indifferent. Chapter 1328, System Task Consecutive Breakthroughs Part 1. In the western region of the Xuanming Immortal Domain, within the territory of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, a towering immortal mountain bathed in layers of radiant clouds stood majestically within the sect grounds. The peak, reaching up into the heavens, was shrouded in celestial light, giving it an aura of profound mystery. At this moment, powerful protective wards surrounded the mountain, sealing off the area and exerting a dominant force over the surrounding space. Within these barriers, formidable laws of the Tao manifested, embodying the essence of creation. This immortal mountain was, in fact, the abode of Jiang Chengxuan. After successfully refining the true tribulation-dispelling pill and delivering it to Xuanhan, Jiang Chengxuan had spent some time with Shen Ruyan before they temporarily parted ways to resume their secluded cultivation. In the boundless journey of immortality, separations of life and death are numerous, and what is known as romantic attachment must ultimately take a back seat to cultivation. Jiang Chengxuan sat cross-legged within his abode, with his Earth Immortal blessed land summoned beneath him, forming a lotus pedestal that supported his form. The vast lands and rivers of the immortal realm were miniaturized and contained within a single seed, under Jiang Chengxuan's control, serving as a source of boundless celestial energy to aid his cultivation. This divine ability is what distinguishes Earth Immortal cultivators from true immortals. With an Earth Immortal blessed land residing within the body, one has access to an endless supply of celestial energy, perpetually immersed in cultivation. Over time, this continuous refinement can save tens of thousands of years in one's cultivation journey, showcasing the formidable advantage of an earth immortal. This time, refining the true tribulation-dispelling pill has benefited me greatly. As he channeled the primordial energy from his blessed land to enhance himself, Jiang Chengxuan manifested the laws of the five elements, life and death, and reincarnation in the surrounding space, muttering to himself. Having spent several days adjusting his state to its peak, Jiang Chengxuan now stood at the cusp of breaking through the bottleneck in his cultivation, poised on the brink of advancement. In his mind, countless insights into the laws of the immortal domain swirled, and the myriad understandings gained during the pill refinement process surfaced in his memory. Each fragment of insight coalesced into the inspiration needed to break through the realm, accumulating within him, waiting for the moment of release. Just as Jiang Chengxuan was deeply immersed in this state, an unexpected sound suddenly interrupted his thoughts, startling him slightly. In his mind, a crisp ding resounded, followed by a cold, sudden voice that seemed to echo from all directions. Congratulations to the host for achieving the refinement of the true tribulation-dispelling pill. System reward, Origin Chi Lotus. This treasure is of immense value in advancing Earth immortal cultivation and nurturing the blessed land. For a moment, Jiang Chengxuan's expression shifted from surprise to joy. The system reward for refining the true tribulation-dispelling pill had finally arrived. Though slightly delayed, it had come at the perfect time, right when he was on the verge of a crucial breakthrough, not a moment too soon. Buzz. Without waiting for Jiang Chengxuan to react, a mysterious hum reverberated through the void. 9 intricate, slender symbols began to materialize from the void, emitting an aura of immense ancient power and radiating 9-colored celestial light. These 9 symbols gradually extended, slowly intertwining, forming the outline of a lotus flower from top to bottom. As Jiang Chengxuan watched in amazement, the symbols fully emerged, resembling a lotus blossom rising from a pond, revealing itself to the world. A lotus, glowing with 9-colored ethereal light, materialized out of thin air. In an instant, an overwhelming surge of primordial energy erupted from the Origin Chi Lotus, filling the entire abode in a single breath. Even the entire immortal mountain where the abode was situated trembled under its force. The primordial energy contained within the Origin Chi Lotus was far more terrifying than the source of heaven's spirit that Jiang Chengxuan had encountered before. True to the system's usual grand style, when it did act, it did so with unmatched impact. What terrifying primordial energy! Even with Jiang Chengxuan's calm disposition, he couldn't help but marvel. As a creation of the heavens and earth, primordial treasures are rare and invaluable, often requiring even Earth immortal elders to exhaust their ingenuity to acquire them. This scarcity is a method by which the heavens impose limits on powerful immortals, restricting their progress. But at this moment, that restriction had lost its effect on Jiang Chengxuan. Thanks to the system, he had access to an infinite supply of primordial treasures, with no need to compete for them. Such an advantage was nothing short of terrifying. With the system's aid, the barriers and shackles set by the will of the heavens could not hinder Jiang Chengxuan, for he possessed a path to transcendence unique to himself. Who? Even Jiang Chengxuan couldn't help but take a deep breath, collecting his thoughts. The existence of the system was his most guarded secret. There had been times when he wondered if, upon entering the immortal domain, the system's power might no longer assist him, leaving him to rely solely on his own abilities. However, the reality was quite the opposite. With the system's presence, his progress in the immortal domain had accelerated, allowing him to cultivate his path more swiftly and with greater defiance of the natural order. Ding! Just as Jiang Chengxuan's excitement began to settle, the system's voice rang out in his mind once more. New system task: achieve the breakthrough to the mid-stage Earth immortal realm.